Dang, 3% have voted for it now. Muting.
Drivers, start your engines!
Ready. Green flag, green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in, stay in, stay in. Come on, come on, come on. Bye-bye, Conan. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why you wait so long, man? Bottom clear, shaking you down here. White flag. Hit your mark. Let's go, boys! Woo! Yeah, boys! Oh, they're all coming here, man. Thank you so much. Hell of a
Hello, everyone out there in NASCAR YouTube land. We are NWP live here tonight on DannyBTalks. I am joined alongside my fellow host, Jarrett the Iceberg Lundberg and Eric Eastep, and we have a very special guest here tonight from the world of Lastcar, Mr. Brock Beer. Brock, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We're always happy to have you here. You pointed out, and we didn't realize this, it's been a while since you were on here. You said the last time you were on was right around or right before COVID times. It's been at least 4 years since we had you here on the show. So it's been long overdue to have you back. And we're glad to have you on here tonight. Side note, I do want to say I love that some people in our chat pointed out that they heard Eric say 3% vote. Muting.
Now it's down to 1% vote. I can't believe, I think it's wild that only 1% of the chat voted for boiled chicken. I figured bots or something would get in here and at least bump that number up to close to double digits. But
Context for those who listen to us on Spotify the next day as they're driving into work. On my channel, I'm the goofy host who likes to do some random polls, and we have a meme here of chicken. So I said, "How do you like your chicken?" 53% have said fried. 46% have said grilled. 1%, I mean, sorry, only one person was bold and said they prefer boiled chicken. They're bold because they like it boiled.
Hey, to be fair, I told you I was opening up an entirely new can of worms with what I'm having this week. So,
Yep, and it's safe to say that would probably eat worms as well. Anyways, let's get into the show this week. My pick last week, Denny Hamlin gets the win at Dover, and we'll get into what that means for the NWP pick points later on in the show tonight. But I got the win with Denny. I told you last week, and I still stand on this. I think Denny Hamlin right now is the number one driver in NASCAR. And, a lot of things to be argued for how he got this win, but he still beat what is quite arguably the other people's best driver in NASCAR right now, Kyle Larson, to get this one, or at least one of them. Eric, let's get into this. What's your thoughts on Denny Hamlin's win this weekend?
yeah, I think it was clearly once again Joe Gibbs Racing versus Hendrick. You had Truex in the mix as well. Chase Elliott scored a top five. So, it wasn't surprising for another 11 versus 5 battle down the stretch. Denny Hamlin has 3 wins this year. Byron has 3 wins this year, but Denny, give him the tiebreaker. He won the Clash at the Coliseum. He's all or nothing. I know he keeps saying all in. It's more like all or nothing because if he's not winning, he's spinning out racing for the win or not finishing inside the top 5 or top 10 at all. I think it's crazy that all of his top 5 finishes this year have been victories. So that works in modern day NASCAR with the way the playoff format is. You get those playoff points. Who cares if, a 12th place finish doesn't mean much at this point. It's all about going for wins. If the playoffs began today, he would be the 2 seed behind Larson. So that tells you how important it is to get those wins, no matter the cost. So, I wasn't surprised he was fast. My pick was Truex. If he doesn't get that splitter damage, maybe he would have been able to race his way up there and make it a 3-car battle down the stretch. But yeah, I'm not shocking at all to see Hendrick versus Gibbs up front once again.
Absolutely. Brock, your account, you're usually known for you're following people in the back of the pack and for Lastcar, but we're gonna have you talk about their front runners this week too. What was your thoughts on this weekend's battle for the win at the end of Dover?
A very, very impressive performance. I mean, as Eric put it, I mean, that's a good point there that, Yeah, he's checkers or wreckers. He's using the old Buddy Baker approach here, and maybe Baker would have some championships under the current format with being able to kind of negate having some bad runs if you're able to pull up the wins. I think at this point with Denny, he's just trying every strategy under the sun to try to go for the championship and get it for the first time here, and I think at this point here he's probably just given up on strategy, just like he's just going to go for it every week. And he may just have an outcome like Sunday, or he could end up on my website. I mean, it could be just as easily one way or the other. And it seems like the team is all on board with that too. We'll see how well that plays out when we gets down to playoff time. Maybe he'll have to change strategy at that point. But maybe not. I think yeah, I mean his this pursuit of a championship got even more attention over the Netflix show. I think there's he's probably getting even more messages than usual whenever something happens out there. But yeah, I think it just in terms of him himself pulling off these wins here. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that he's one of the hottest hands right now.
And that kind of leads us into the next subtopic that we had in our itinerary here. Um, who right now would we say is our current odds-in favorite for the championship, or at least regular season championship? Me, I'd argue Hamlin. Some may argue Byron. Some may argue Larson. Is there any other names we're not looking at? Jarrett, is there anyone we're ignoring right now?
I think the closest is Truex and Elliott, just because I don't think Elliott's peaked yet, and Truex is still in such a good team and in a good setting in place, and he's consistently good. But it's those three right now. I won't say they're the big three because I don't think they're that far separated yet. I don't think
we're not back in 2018. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think we're 2018 level where it's like everyone's vying, which one can try and get to 10 wins out of them, but. I mean, I know Denny talked about on Actions Detrimental of like kind of gunning for, those different spots on the win list. He's one behind Rusty Wallace. He's 6 behind Harvick at this point. And I think that what his co-host had said is kind of true. It's like if he gets 7 wins this season, which he just needs 4 more through, 25 races left. That would actually kind of be disappointing right now with how he's running because, yeah, he can just go for broke. And I think in the way the system is built right now is if you cash in on that, you have a huge advantage getting these wins early and just piling the points on. Like, yeah. Come to Sonoma, he is if he's running top 5, he is not getting a single stage point that whole day because he's going to be going for the wins, just because that's the strategy that's going to work with that. He's going to be the one they'll probably throw a crazier block than usual at Daytona in August. Like I think because of that, guys like him and Byron are so far ahead. Larson, I think they're so far ahead just because of the speed and the ability to not basically have to care about what happens.
I think at the rate things are going, there will be 2 Toyotas and 2 Hendrick cars at Phoenix. Probably Byron Larson representing Hendrick, but I'd throw Elliott in the mix. And Alex Bowman's scored top 10s. I think I looked it up 5 of the last 7 races. Even he's starting to come on somewhat strong. But there'll be 2 Hendrick cars and 2 Toyotas, either Hamlin Reddick or Hamlin Truex at the rate things are going. And I would give the Toyota drivers the advantage because of how dominant they looked at Phoenix a few weeks back. I know it's a long time between March Phoenix and November Phoenix, but the Toyotas have dominated the short tracks outside of Martinsville. I'll give Toyota the edge come Phoenix at this point, probably Denny Hamlin, which, Hamlin, keep in mind, I think if I'm not mistaken, he ended up 5th. I don't know about the final season standings, but he was the first guy out of the championship 4 at the end of the round of 8 each of the last 2 years. So he's been like right there. I think before that, didn't he get to 3 straight championship 4s, 19 through 21? So, man, like he is always right there. Law of averages says he's going to break through at some point. I guess we could probably say the same about Justin Allgaier. How many championship 4s has he been to in Xfinity? Maybe these 2 guys are just truly cursed, as Hamlin has suggested. I don't know.
What does this say about the kind of driver that Hamlin truly is? Like, especially in, the older he gets, it seems like some drivers you say might peak early, but it seems like we're not sure where that peak is yet for Hamlin. I mean, ultimately the peak would be finally winning the championship, but he's managed to find some way or another to always be a driver that we're talking about contending for wins, no matter the car, no matter the playoff system. He's always been there, like in the thick of it, for a championship contention. 2010, before playoffs, he was one of the three guys who was going to win a championship that year. Like Eric said, he's been to consecutive, multiple time championship fours. Looks like he should, have a season. He's going to have another shot at it this year. I mean, what does this say for him? And I mean, we've talked about this before. If he never did win that championship, just having that contention to be a threat for it, what does that say about his career?
I can take it. I think he's right now. I think right now he's probably the best driver to not win a championship. We're talking about Hamlin, right? I was looking up Justin Allgaier's stats to back up what I said earlier. He has been to, I believe, 6 championship fours in the Xfinity Series.
Allgaier is like the Hamlin of the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, so I made that comparison, but I hadn't really thought about it before. Denny Hamlin's fantastic, extremely talented race car driver. He's always in the mix. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer at this rate. I mean that all he has left to prove is winning a championship. He could retire tomorrow, and like Jimmy and Chad, like Kenseth, like Junior, he'll go in the Hall of Fame the moment he's eligible. So it's just at this point he just wants to tick that box. Like he doesn't really have anything to truly prove to us other than he wants a trophy, which all drivers do.
What I had said is like basically I don't know what to say at this point, because it does feel it feels like a curse. Like he can do like 2010, right? Has it basically like he just needs to have a good run and everything goes wrong, and the strategy the week before is wrong, and points racing wise, just in that time couldn't do it. Even as a rookie was up there battling, even though having watched back in that season recently, he really had no business being ahead of most of the guys he was ahead of, but couldn't close the deal on that one. Has the tape issue or whatever, or is in 20 feet from the line, and then here comes Ross Chastain training on the outside wall and knocks him out. So I don't even know what to say anymore. Like he should, if this is William Byron, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Truex, you can probably name 4 or 5 other drivers that's having this season that's this fast week in and week out, even if the results aren't there. We're talking about this guy being like a championship favorite. No problem. Nothing's going to happen. This is their year. But because it's Denny Hamlin, we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's very familiar for me as a Vikings fan, like watching this and just waiting, like, when is it going to screw up? And when is it going to be completely their fault, out of their control? What is it? I think for me, if he just has that not be a goose egg, just a 1 right there, he's put in the same conversation as Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, you name it. Like I don't think he'd be in like that upper probably 6, 7, 8 guys that we talk about as the all-time greats, but he'd be right there behind them. But because we don't, I think we even talked about last year when we ranked our top 75, we're like, I believe the chat had him like outside the top 20, and I just think it's just disrespectful to me because he's way better than that.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I'm going back in my notes. I'm kind of curious on something here. I'm like, okay, out of all the, I don't know how many weeks we're on at this point, but I just went through all my picks and of these last few weeks. Denny Hamlin is a possible pick I had for 8 races this season that I was going to or did pick to win. That's how much confidence that I have had in Hamlin, and I feel like if we all truthfully went for there, we'd probably be almost close to having him on there as well as a possible option.
Well, I do want to move on from Hamlin because we've talked a lot about him, and Kyle Larson, I think, has been the best driver so far this year. He's led 3 times, or he's won 3 times as many stages as anybody else. He's led the most laps. He is the regular season points leader, and he finished 2nd. I don't really want to talk about this anymore because it's exhausting, so I'm going to make our special guest talk about the battle at the end. Brock, what did you make of the Aero blocking? How do you feel about how this I guess, this next gen car races? And do you feel like the way this race finished is sort of being blown out of proportion?
You know, it reminded me so much of the battle that we had at the end of the Vegas race a while back, and I'm trying to recall. It was Reddick
Larson and
come
Reddick,
down
yeah.
and Larson, yeah. And I remember that being a really exciting finish. And I know a lot of people were complaining about Aero in that one too. And it's like, well, I mean, Reddick just keeps getting closer and closer, and you can't get around him. I think in that particular race there, it really looked like Reddick was actually closing on him, and maybe another lap or two, he would have been able to get around him there. In this Dover race, given how many more laps it seemed like Larson was reeling in Hamlin, and it seemed like he was pretty much on him a little bit sooner. This looked like much more of a case of him not being able to get around him. But I'm intrigued by this, what people are saying about the defensive ability of this car, that people are really trying to or they really can manipulate the air that way and actually move up in front of somebody. And there's always been that aspect of it in the sport, whether it's drafting on the super speedways. You don't usually think of that being any kind of a factor at a place like Dover. I mean, obviously very fast track there, but not really something with Aero involved in it there. But I do think it's a bit blown out of proportion in terms of it being a real like a major concern, because I do feel like that element has always been there in one way or another. And I think maybe the complexion of it has just changed a little bit into more of a defensive strategy than an offensive one. I think a lot of people are showing the footage of the Logano and Harvick battle at Kansas in the 550 package. I think that was much harder to watch because it seemed like Harvick was just on his bumper for about 15 laps, and that interval just never changed. He couldn't get around him. I don't feel like that's necessary. I mean, what we had at Dover was, like, I think, a little bit between what we saw there and what we saw in Vegas. I think Larson caught him sooner, but again, I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think it's just that each of these different races, it just plays out differently, and we're still figuring it out. Even with the
Yeah.
Aero package there.
Yeah, I just think teams have obviously gotten smarter, and now fans understand, like, there's a word for it now. We like, arrow blocking has become a common phrase. And Kyle Busch, at the beginning of the weekend, you alluded to it, talking about how this car can play defense better than offense. I just think people are more aware of it now, but you're right. It's been a thing for many years. The only counter argument I would make is that I do think it's gotten worse. If maybe worse isn't the right word. It's become more prevalent in the past few seasons. One, because, like, that Kansas finish we're talking about, you had the giant rear spoiler, so much drag, so much turbulent air, it was extreme. And now with the next gen, the cars, I think, are just so equal that every little, I guess, difference makes all the difference. So that would be my argument, is we just need to continue to push to find ways to like Denny Hamlin has said on his podcast, create more lap time differential. More horsepower could lead to more variability. Different tires that wear more evenly and steadily throughout a run could lead to more variability. I don't know enough about this technology to know how this would really work, but I do think it's a little ridiculous that drivers have access to everyone's real-time SMT data. Teams have access to everyone's real-time data. Like, I get having access to your teammates and your own data, but to the whole field, like, that does seem excessive. I know it's been a few years now. I'd have to go back and figure out, what people were saying at the time when it was first made a thing. Like, what was the argument in favor of creating, like, open access SMT? Was it to help the smaller teams and drivers catch up? I don't know, but I think it's run its course. I don't think there's any reason Hamlin's team should have been able to see exactly what Larson was doing in real time. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So nothing's going to fix arrow blocking entirely. We just know too much, but maybe there are a few things that could be done that would mitigate those effects somewhat. That being said, I kind of agree with you, Brock. I mean, I thought Dover was a good race. I gave it a positive review. I thought the finish was exciting, slightly frustrating, maybe, but it didn't get in the way of my enjoyment of the overall, battle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, per se, for the most part. I mean, I thought the race itself felt like a normal Dover race. And you did see people move through the pack. You saw people moving up. You saw different lines. Like, I don't think it was as bad as people are saying. At the same time, though, I do think the next gen does have a bit of an issue when it comes to this. It's nothing new. I rewatched the 2016 race last week, the one with Kenseth and Larson, and it was maybe not as prevalent, but it was still the same strategy. Kenseth was cutting off Larson, and back then we just all called it cutting off their line or taking their line. And now we have an actual name for it, and I think that probably helps spread it on social media a bit more. But at the same time, I do think that outside of these intermediate tracks, like there does need to be some action taken to not just like maybe to the SMT data or to the digital mirrors, what people are talking about too. I've seen a lot talk about that. But just overall working more on the car. I mean, it's just at this point, it's kind of, the fresh kind of shine of the next gen is kind of, I think, worn off for a lot of people. But I will not take people comparing this like and saying it's as bad as that Kansas race. I was there. It was painful. That was one of the few races I've ever been to where I wanted to leave early. And I was watching this past week, and I know if I were there, I wouldn't have wanted to leave early because there was stuff going on track. A couple weeks ago, I talked about how when I was setting up for my post-race show after Martinsville, I put the entire running order of the field in with 30 to go, or about 30, 40 to go, and there was not a single pass on track for position in the entire field before that caution. That was not the case this week. There was passing throughout the field, too. You just don't notice it at the end because we're covering a battle for the win. And I think that, I believe it was Auto Racing Analytics, I think, that put it out there, that it was driver skill, too, on Hamlin's part. I mean, a lesser driver wouldn't be able to race up front the way Hamlin and Larson were as well.
No, if that was a driver like, say, a Ty Gibbs, I think Kyle Larson wins that.
I think there's a cutoff. I definitely think aero blocking now is easier than it used to be, depending on the track. But I mean, you're right. What Denny Hamlin, I'll also say this. If you watch the intervals on the side, that whole final round, they're pulling away from third place the entire time. Both guys are. Not just, it's not like Truex was catching up there, but like Hamlin's backing up to the whole field. They were the two fastest cars on track. So it's not like it was the fastest car couldn't pass the eighth fastest car. It was 1 versus 2. So the difference in speed really wasn't that great. Another thing I think that's worth keeping in mind that I didn't even notice when first watching it. I'll admit, I was more frustrated in the moment. And even I wasn't not upset, but I was more frustrated in the moment. I've slowly been like, no, you know what? It really wasn't as bad as I think people said. I think people just do love to instant react on social media, and strong opinions sell. So, I just hope we don't have to talk about it as often these next few races.
Yeah, it just seems like there's always something we got to talk about after each week. Like
I know.
We go to a short track. It's like,
tires.
Man, I want good short track racing, but I don't want to be because of tires at Bristol. Man, I want close intermediate racing, but I don't want it to be where they can't pass each other. It's just, there's always something. It's like we have a solid product, but it's not a great product.
Well, again, I will say, like, I don't think that this, like, if it's this kind of racing 3 years from now, or you're having the same issues drivers are talking about, like that should not be the case either. Like, I do think that there should be improvements made. I just don't think I don't think it's as far as people are saying. But I do think that there need to be improvements. This is the battle NASCAR's been fighting, and all of motorsports has been fighting since we got the cars rolling in the beginning. I mean, the air will always be a problem. And these people saying, like, look at the 2000s. Like, yeah, there's clips you can find. There's also clips I can go find from 2005 or 2006, which I do think is overall still better racing, that have these same issues, the same washing up the hill issues when you get behind somebody the right way, something like that. I just think that lessening it is the way to go, and I think that's where I think a lot of people are on the right track. I think it's just they hit the off ramp, and the off ramp went up without an end, and it's just they're flying off the end now.
Yeah,
that's my analogy for it.
I like that.
I'll put it like this. This is how our chat feels about aero blocking. I asked in a poll of 311 people watching, 96 votes come in. Said, what team are you on? 10% people are pro aero blocking. 48% of people are anti-aero blocking, and 41% of you are with the Guangdong Tigers. The Guangdong Tigers get more support than aero blocking right now. That is just crazy.
That is very big for the Chinese Basketball Association. I did want to give a shout out to some of our top finishers as well. Kyle Busch had himself a day. started on pole, ran top 10, gets a fourth. Like he needed that. I don't know where he's at in points, but I think he'd fallen just outside the playoff picture. Now he's probably back in the top 16, albeit barely. You could probably look it up. But he needed a big weekend like that. And
13th. He's plus 12 now.
oh, then he's well inside. Well done. Still needed a big weekend. Got it. Noah Gragson, another top 10, best finishing Ford. Can we talk about Ford for just a moment? They are,
Yeah, because we don't get many chances to this year. We might as well.
well, we're about to say something negative about Ford, I imagine, because they were terrible once again. I mean, Blaney was the only Ford in the top 10 most of the day. Gregson got there in part because of a lucky caution. Like, what else can you say? Joey Logano was 20th at one point. Like, that's not okay. Like, that's like, how did they miss on it? Like, again, if I'd be willing to show Ford a bit more grace if more Toyotas were struggling as well. But Toyota is arguably the best car in the Cup Series right now. So that just makes Ford's issues all the more glaring. Like, how did they F it up so badly? Because I think that's what this car, this Mustang Dark Horse, from what I can tell, is a failure at this point, like an abject failure. And I don't see Logano, Blaney have come on strong in the playoffs the last 2 years. At this rate, that's not happening. That is not happening. I don't
Well,
know
yeah,
about how you
especially
guys
when it
feel.
seems like they had a perfect car already that went 2 for 2 on the championship, and then it just said, "Let's redo it." Like, why? Why? You had it perfect.
Darn branding. Why? Why? I
I
don't
find
know.
it pretty disappointing that the dark horse is struggling so much because I remember thinking back at Daytona when they showed like you could see it at a 3/4 view during the duels. I thought aesthetically, I thought the thing looked like the Mach 5. Like I love the
Yeah,
fender flares and
I
the
do agree.
aggressive body styling on it.
I
I
don't
was
even
like,
think I
man,
like
this
it
thing's gonna be a
aesthetically.
bullet.
See, I'm
Danny,
looking.
you didn't watch Speed Racer and it shows.
See, I'm looking right now back at like the finishing order, but also stage points wise, and they scored 10 total stage points during that race. Anyone want to take a bet on or
It
a
was all
guess?
Blaney. I know
Yep.
Blaney scored all 10 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at that part, and then I look through the top 10 for each one. It's Toyota, Chevy, Toyota, Ford, Blaney, Chevy, Toyota, Chevy, 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 Chevy. Then Chevy, Chevy, Toyota, Toyota, Chevy, Chevy, Toyota, Blaney, Chevy, Toyota. It's just
A lot of Chevys and Toyotas.
they're even though. Like they're pretty even. It's like 5 and 4 splits each time. And then Ryan Blaney, who is just that man's back. I feel so bad for him. It must be hurting because of how much he has carried the entire manufacturer this year.
Yeah.
I just the part that I'm kind of puzzled by the most, how is Blaney this much better than everybody in a Ford out there behind him? Because
Like Logano, especially, they're
Yeah.
both champions. They're both theoretically in the same equipment. They both have champion winning crew chiefs. Like they should be roughly equal, right? Why is there such a gap?
and going back into the points wise of it, I mean, Blaney is the only Ford that is safely in at the moment. He's 79 in. I know it's 15 or so races to go, but it's still, we're past Talladega, and to me, that's like when you start actually looking at how it's shaken out. After that, the next one closest to him is Briscoe, and then Buescher, and they're 11 and 2 in right now. I mean, some of the heavy hitters out. Brad Keselowski is out. You'd
Yeah,
think Austin Cindric would jump up.
Like you want to think that Brad and Busher can improve as the season goes on, but right now I'm scared to say that they can.
I mean, I can't imagine they'll get worse, but are they going to get? That's all I'm saying is
That's
like
what I'm saying. I
Blaine.
don't think they're going to be like, oh, they could contend for a championship. I can't even say I feel that way about Blaney, and he won the freaking championship last year.
Yeah, I like he turned it on last year and won what 2 of the last 5 races or something like that. Like I don't see any Ford
Yeah,
driver winning multiple races at all this year at this rate. It's brutal. It really is. I don't know. Keselowski's, he'll scratch and claw. He'll veteran his way to some top fives, but that's
Not
about the only other Ford outside of Blaney
not
that
Sunday.
like we wrote this down in our notes. We talked about before the show. Noah Gragson might be the best driver at Ford. He keeps, sneaking these top 10 efforts out every few weeks. Like that's really impressive considering where that team had been and the relative lack of experience Gregson has. So Ford's just weird. It's weird that Noah Gragson has looked better than Joey Logano several times this year. That's just weird to me. I don't get that. But good for Gregson. That's not I don't mean that as an insult to Gregson. If anything, that's an insult to Logano because we do expect better from Joey and the whole 22 team. But anyway, I just wanted to talk Ford for a minute. I don't know what we wanted to touch on next.
It's going to be an interesting storyline to follow because if there's any improvement, like I'll be happy at this point. If we can see Blaney and any other Ford finish in the top 10 in the next month, and not because of a strategy or because of attrition, just because of pure speed, of like Joey Logano looks like Joey Logano again. Like we can actually have a progression of this storyline here, but it's just it is insane to me. I mean, and it's not like Blaney has been setting the world on fire. He has 5 top 10s this year.
No, yeah, he hasn't been amazing. I was going to try to look up like the crazy thing is like the Mustang Dark Horse isn't winning anywhere. It's not winning in Xfinity. It's not winning in Cup. I don't watch a lot.
Second longest streak in NASCAR history of Ford not winning, like across the board.
It's like that's what I mean. Is it's just so weird. It's not just. I don't know that it's just a next gen. Oh, they missed it with this body style. It's like Ford's just. Did they lose some important engineers? Like what is happening over there? Like it's across the board. I think I saw, was it Breakard had a video on YouTube and he referenced a few other like sports car series with the new Mustang. They aren't winning there either. Like the new Mustang is struggling in every series it's competed in this year. So it's like, we know that a NASCAR stock car is not an actual stock car. So there's got to be something more to it. Or is this car just cursed? I don't understand.
I think a curse probably isn't too far off because I think the one place that the Fords have been good this year has been the super speedways, and they just hit a glass ceiling in all those. I mean, you had Cindric going for the win in the 500. He gets in the wreck with LaJoie. The Hendrick guys slip by. We just had that Talladega race where it came down to McDowell and Keselowski letting Reddick squeeze on by. And then I'm trying to think back to Atlanta, but I know obviously there you had McDowell on his first pole and
Todd Gillen led a bunch of laps.
Yeah. No, I mean, they were good in those.
You're right. Cursed is a good word because there's no other way to explain Ford being 1, 2, 3 in a line, exiting turn 4 at Talladega, and none of them win. That's just, that is brutal.
Y'all realize we're still talking about, Ford can't win. And in the Atlanta craziness of that 3-wide finish, we were about that close.
That's right.
Not being able to talk.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Blaney was in that too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at this too. I mean, this is just so weird for me. So yeah, Brad Keselowski has the same amount of top 5s and top 10s this year as Ryan Blaney, 4 and 5. And I'm looking through after that at like who's the next best Ford when it comes to say top 5s, because that can at least tell you like who's been running up front. Well, other than those two of Brad or Blaney. And I mean, maybe
Busher?
No, he's got one.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm missing something. Like I think that's
Todd
it.
Gilliland? No, I don't know.
I mean,
Justin Haley.
I'm going through right now, and it's Cindric has 1, McDowell has 0, Priest has 0, Gilliland has 0. I think it's 1.
How many does Logano have? Only 1? Yeah, 1 top 5.
1 top 5. Busher has
Brad's
1.
got 4. How the hell has Brad Keselowski got 4
Feast
top 5s?
Famine. He's like Denny Hamlin, like Diet Denny.
He's like I said, he's veteraning his way into some top 5s.
That's just
They got to fix it. I somewhat scoffed at Kevin Harvick a couple weeks ago when he said Talladega was a must-win for Ford. I'm like, yeah, obviously the super speedways are the only place Ford truly excels, but they can win anywhere. I'm honestly not so sure. Like, they may not be able to win anywhere else.
Am I mistaken? I just went through all the series. Has Ford not won in any series this year?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not even just NASCAR. It's like Ford can't win anywhere.
They're close. Put this in perspective. The closest Ford has come to winning this year was Blaney at Atlanta and Ryan Sieg at Texas. That was the closest they have come to winning this season.
So, okay, this is what I saw here. Trey Ryan had put it on Twitter 2 days ago. It's been a combined 29 races since Ford has won a NASCAR race in the top 3 series combined. It's officially the second longest winless streak they have had in NASCAR since 1983. Longest was 42 races, ending in 2010. And if I'm not mistaken, because that was back COT era and they were doing changes, wasn't that when they had the FR9 engine come in and completely change the board on their end with that, and basically had to like start up from new again? Like, wasn't that around that same time?
I actually don't know. I do want to bring up a good point from our YouTube buddy Baloney Burger. Maybe Ford's spending their whole budget developing their F1 engine.
It's,
All
I mean,
people asleep.
yeah.
it's interesting to me. I mean, I'm not even like I'm puzzled, but it's just very just interesting to see a manufacturer just go from like competing and winning championships like to this, and
It's
again
just
how
surprising.
fast.
It's a spec car. Like that's what that means. It's like it's just the engine and it's just Aero, right? I mean, there's probably a few other fine-tuned details. There's simulation. There's all these other things, but it's like it's one thing if like when the Camaro came out and it was a little off for a year or two. It's like okay, well then you building everything in house. It's a little everything's a little more customizable. Maybe they're off somewhere in here. This is just spec car. I'm just in the era of parity. It's just surprising to see them shut out of victory lane. Anyway, I don't want to keep piling on because I am rooting for Ford. I got a Ford bumper right here. Ford was my first NASCAR love, being a Matt Kenseth fan. I'm pulling for Ford to get out of this hole they're in. It's just I'm just flabbergasted. But we can probably move on. I don't want to. We got some passionate Ford fans in the chat. I don't want to
And,
just keep beating the dead horse.
speaking of Ford, I think we all kind of agree that Blaney is class of the Fords right now, but one of those teams that is just it's been on the struggle bus for a while is Stewart Haas Racing. Um, Aside from the Xfinity Series, they didn't win a single race last year. If you go to their shop, they have a whole line of like wins from each year. I think the year before they only got to put three up there, and then last year there's nothing. It's just blank for that season unless they put up the Xfinity ones. I haven't been there since Martinsville last year. But SHR, we just ran a poll. Who is the best Stewart Haas Racing driver right now? Um, Overwhelmingly, 62% of people voted for their newest hire, Noah Gragson, as the best driver at Stewart Haas Racing. 26% said Chase Briscoe, 7% say Josh Berry, 3% say Ryan Preece. I'm going to start with Eric on this one because he just seemed flabbergasted that Noah Gragson is who they think is the best. Personally, what I've seen, I have to go with Gragson on this one. Eric, I'd like to know what you think.
I mean, no, I think Chase Briscoe is objectively better at this stage in his career. And he's also way better in the points, even if you give Gregson his 35-point penalty back. Um, Gregson's been very impressive this year. Maybe he's got the highest ceiling when we're talking 5 years from now. Maybe I could give you that. But right now, no, Chase Briscoe, I think is the closest thing Stuart Haas has to a complete driver.
Brock, I want to hear your thoughts on this, and then we'll go to Jared on this. What would be your overall opinion? And you can do this for the here and now, or you can do this for the longevity, like Eric was talking about. Who would you say is the best / has the most potential at SHR?
Boy, that's so tough. I mean, I have to say I'm actually a little disappointed in Briscoe's performance to this point, and I'm questioning his ceiling a little bit, which is I can't overstate the disappointment because in 2020 when he was going for that Xfinity championship and beat Kyle Busch at Darlington there under those just terrible circumstances he was dealing with, he seemed like the sky's the limit. And I know that when he came into the Cup Series in 2021, and you're phasing out the old car, and he struggled with that. I mean, thankfully he has that win at Phoenix, but I've been waiting for like that second win for a bit here, and I don't think you can really put all of that on the team there at the same time. I think at this point with Gragson turning around, I think the other thing you can't understate either is Gragson turning around from last year, just like he was completely out to lunch after being just as dominant as Briscoe was in the Xfinity Series, and just seemed really unhappy in that 42 ride. Then ultimately, what happened there. And that 10 car, I mean, it's not exactly like he's winning every week, but I mean, I think the circumstance, the tracks that he is getting these top tens on are tracks that, are very tricky for drivers to pull off. The margin for error at places like Phoenix and Dover is really narrow, and you can't really turn things around there. So maybe it's not a big enough sample size there, but yeah, I'm gonna kind of lean towards Gregson, and it may be more like you said, Eric. I mean, maybe more what we're going to see in the future there, but I think for that team and where they are right now, that's where they need to look.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Brock. You were talking about wanting to see that second win. Ultimately, uh, Briscoe came in with so much potential coming out of the Xfinity Series. Looked like if things go any differently, he maybe should have, could have, would have won the Indy Road Course race that year. And then he got the win at Phoenix, but then just after that, that's like, have we seen him peak early? And I hate to say, because he's a good guy. He's always been a pleasure to talk with. But I've talked to him at NASCAR award ceremonies, races, whatever it may be. But you just don't want to see a guy like him peak out this early. I mean, Jarrett, what do you think? Is he still got the potential, or is it kind of seeming like he's peaked?
I mean, I think he has that potential. I'm putting Briscoe number one at the moment, just because he is far and away consistently the best performer at the team right now. But it's interesting looking at Gragson. Like I don't. At first, I'll admit, kind of discounting, like, oh, really, Gragson. But then I'm looking back at his season so far, and he's had 3 finishes outside the top 30. 34th at Austin and Bristol, and a 36th at Atlanta. Not going to blame him for a super speedway crash. And Bristol, I think, compared to the rest of the season, still is a bit of an anomaly. But outside of that, he's been top 20 every race. And if you take the last 5, he's been 12th at Richmond, 20th at Martinsville, 18th at Texas, which at the end was kind of a crapshoot, 3rd at Dega, 6th at Dover. And before that, I mean, he was right up, almost getting a top 10 at Phoenix. He was in the top 10, could have got a top 5 at Vegas. So I do think that Gragson this year, I think his ceiling is higher. I know that Briscoe's overall probably seems higher. I do think the 10 team is more consistent in how they run, not necessarily how they finish at this point. I want to see if into the summer they can get a few more top 5s before I can really say that it's a true battle. So I'm still putting it 14, 10. After that, I'll put Barry, and then Priest, I think, it's just not working.
Yeah, I don't know what's not working there. But I think, I mean, Briscoe's 12th in points. Like that's pretty good considering where Stuart Haas is at. I'm still hopeful those flashes will return.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can move on from clowning on Ford, because we'll do that next week, I'm sure, too, for a little bit. It's just becoming a weekly segment at this point, sadly. But we can talk about just an overall big wreck at Dover. Like, that section where this wreck happened has been known for going back years and years now to be a place that's produced some insanely huge wrecks at Dover. So this one wasn't as big as like the ones we've seen, like I think '08 and '09 had the huge wrecks there, but still a pretty good sized wreck. Saw Bell, Byron.
What's your guy Bowman doing there? Fox is telling me Bowman caused it.
2 times, Bowman. I swear to God, man, stay out of the way, because you're out there driving other people's car and you're causing this wreck, man.
Yeah,
no, that was hilarious.
Because I think it was Mike Joy had said it like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like,
Mike Joy said it, and Clint Boyer said Bowman caused the wreck. I was like, what the hell?
They're like insisting on it.
Yeah,
that's
like,
crazy.
Bowman's up there. He's almost in turn 3 already. We'll talk about Fox in a minute, but I mean, this is probably inconsequential for the most part for at least 2 of them. But I think Bubba, this was a pretty big deal. I mean, he's now had a bit of a turn down in momentum. Granted, going into Kansas, I think that's a pretty good shot at turning that around. But there's a
reason I got my 2311 shirt on this weekend. I think they're all gonna be fine this weekend.
But I mean, he's currently 2 behind Buescher, for the last spot, and he's gonna be in that bubble battle for the rest of the year unless he gets a win. He's like, that's just what, again, it's like Talladega's that cutoff. Like, once you pass Talladega, you pretty much know who's going to be in that kind of group, unless somebody like just strikes fire in the middle of the summer.
Yeah. Eric, do you have any more thoughts on that?
No, I think he covered it. I think
Sorry.
Kansas is the best place to bounce back if you're Bubba Wallace. I mean, I don't have too much else to add. They've been good. Like obviously it's Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick 1-2. I think 2311 is the third best team in the Cup Series right now. But a lot of that is Reddick. Bubba's good, but Reddick has looked great at times, which I guess doesn't shock us. I think we've kind of always assumed that's sort of the gap in their performance the last couple of years. But yes, like a back-to-back DNFs do hurt Bubba, considering a win is not a guarantee for him.
Yeah, and just really Bubba's the worst for wear comes out of that one because without that win, it's hurting him. The other two have wins, and it's just it's tough. It's tough seeing that go down like that. Byron, I think let's see, this is like his only DNF this season, or does he have another one?
It's his only one.
Was that his only one, really?
Yes. I mean, because he's tied with Reddick for most top tens this year, and he's tied with Larson for most top fives, and he's just been really damn good. Tied for most wins too.
I'm just surprised because he's sixth in points. I guess that's just all stages. He doesn't get a lot of stage points compared to some of these other guys.
Yeah. I think that's probably it. Plus, at least nowadays, because of the stage points, a DNF can, like at least points wise, if you're looking at just the raw standings, DNFs can actually probably hurt you more than they could pre-stages in the kind of point-by-point system that you got now. So that's
Especially
probably
a DNF in the first stage.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's probably what's weighing him down a lot.
Well, moving on from the big wreck here, things were crashing all over the place, but nothing was crashing down as bad as this cameraman. I'll let Jarrett start us off on this one. He just has simply wrote for the subject of this one, Fox cameraman down bad. And I know what he's talking about, but I'll let him explain this more.
Yeah, I don't remember, what was the guy's name? Was it like
Mitch, I think.
Yeah, and you see Larry Mack before the race, and he's talking, and you see all the cameras behind him, and you just see this one camera just go and zoom in on these three girls right next to the fence. I know a lot of people are saying it's probably like him trying to set his white balance, whatever. To which I say, why didn't you do that before the broadcast? Like, I feel like there's.
Oh yeah, let me just focus in on these ladies right here.
Let me zoom in on some white people to get my white balance checked.
But then somebody else managed to dig out that somebody from Fox did the same thing at Talladega, where you see him like he's watching the pack. I think it's a caution. And then just goes down into the stands and watches these girls walk down the stairs. And I'm like, I'm not going to, go on some crusade or anything about Fox cameramen, like because of all of this on it, just on that alone. But just more, this seems more indicative of what we've all been talking about. Brock, I've seen you on Twitter talking a lot about the Fox broadcast, where it's just, there's no focus. There's no focus on what to actually cover.
Oh, they were focusing all right.
Well, yeah, okay.
There's that.
Yeah, he's recording with one hand. Okay, well, but like, I'm like, I don't know what to say anymore about Fox. That like, it's, I don't know, man. It just frustrates me because Fox used to be so much better.
It's in a weird place where I guess the camera people, it's like, okay, they're in a place where we can't just not film the crowd because then we don't want to make it seem like, oh, they're hiding empty stands, and we don't want to be having the other half of the camera people who are just filming kids the whole time, and the other half are filming random ladies, and I don't know who are we supposed to film.
I don't mind putting a fan on screen every now and then. Like, it's that we missed like 3 restarts because they're focusing on the stands.
Yeah,
I'm fine. Like and they don't do it at the right time either. Like when Chase Elliott takes the lead, like I love when half the shot, I don't care if it's Junior or Elliott, when you show the fans going nuts. I know that people that aren't fans of those drivers might not like it, but it sets a mood and an atmosphere. Turn up that fan volume because they're loud as hell at the track. And if Chase Elliott takes the lead this weekend, they're going to be loud. You're going to hear them.
I like those shots. It's better for the intermediates. I think I can remember back to specifically Michigan 2012 when Junior, I don't remember if it was when he did win or when he had first took the lead of that Michigan race. When he had it, they had a shot where you just saw the start finish line. You saw that black 88 sailing off in distance, and then they just kind of panned slowly to the crowd. You could just see everyone, including a little Jarrett somewhere, going crazy in there.
Yeah, I think it was the one he won.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of little things, because in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a huge deal. Like, it's a funny meme at the moment, but it's just these little things keep adding up. And the fact that we can see, like, it'd be nitpicking if we're like, hey man, they didn't cover, on lap 184, so and so was battling so and so, and they didn't catch both battles in the background. But that was like the only time I could think of. Like, at that point, it's nitpicking. Stuff like that happens. But it's when every week there's stuff that's glaringly in our face about it. It's just, it gets just wears you down. I mean, it just wears you down about it.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly fair, I mean, if you look at older broadcasts like ESPN or TNN, I mean, they would show pretty ladies in the grandstands or especially the infield and stuff. So, I'm reluctant to be as critical of Fox for that specifically and, and so forth. But I do agree that I think the timing is the big issue is like, if they were doing that, when nothing is happening or when there's not as much happening, I'm kind of one of the ones that thinks that, really at every moment something is happening. You just got to look for it. That would be one thing. But as you mentioned, yeah, if they're missing restarts, they're missing key battles, or they're cutting away from something that's about to happen and you can see, and then they just slam cut to this, then yeah, that's a big problem. I think the issue I've always had in a lot of, and I get a lot of gripe for this because people tend to think that I only complain about this, but it really is a series of small issues like you mentioned there. And I question what they're doing in their debriefs after the end of these broadcasts. I think a lot of times I'm getting the sense that these issues are so common now and you can kind of almost see them coming from week to week that I don't even, if they're not doing a debrief, they're just saying, "Hey, great job, everyone. See you next week." And that's kind of the way it feels like to me. And if it's not that, then they need to make that pretty clear because they're falling into the wrong habits, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it does feel like they are just sort of what's the word? They're taking us for granted. They're doing things the way they always have. They're not being introspective and actually trying to improve. Like, you should always be trying to get better. That's like the oldest like adage in the book is always try to do better. And it doesn't feel like that's where they're at this point. It is frustrating. But I will say if there's ever a day for them to cut to people in the crowd, it was Sunday at Dover, because that did stand out to me. Our friends in Delaware finally got a race weekend with some good weather and they showed up, which
That
is
they
really cool
did.
to see.
I've never been to Dover. Hopefully, I can in the next couple of years. But no, that was on TV. It looked like it was a good crowd for this race. They finally got the weather they've been wanting forever, and good on them for actually showing up and packing out that place. That's their one race a year. They made the most of it.
Hold on, I just saw a comment in the chat. This is also from Baloney Burger. Brock, did you pull this on us? You're wearing a Zane Smith t-shirt. We like Zane Smith here. Is that because he is last in points?
Well, I mean, he's in contention. I mean, I just like the design, honestly. I just wish the car was on the front. But yep,
Mm,
that's the
I
whole
I'm
deal we got here.
I just died. Someone Baloney Burger said that your shirt is so on brand with Lastcar, and I'm like, dang, did he actually? I didn't even think about that, but that's genius. Anyway, sorry,
There
Danny.
was a little bit of thinking going into it. I was like, man, what should I wear for this? I'm like, you know what? The old
And I
Highlane Zane
mean,
shirt sounds like it'll be another time to bring that one out.
the orange on your shirt and your hat really matches well with each other.
That's
So,
true. It is a good color coordination.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I accomplished that because I'm actually colorblind. So
yeah,
that was more accidental.
And by the way,
Yeah.
the chat now will not unnotice it the rest of the show. They're going to love it and probably bring it up 5 or 6 more times. I already see them be like, oh my God, that's amazing.
And then
While
they
we're
went and
talking
changed his paint scheme too. So I mean, what about that?
oh yeah.
while we're talking about the chat real quick, we are just past halfway to our like goal of 400. It's a steep goal. We got to get to 400 likes to unlock Jarrett's mystery driver, random driver of the
Right
week.
now, you're gonna have to go recruit some friends. We only got 350 watching. We need to get more of you
Yeah,
watching
got to
just to
get
get
that
to that
400
like
mark.
goal tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or just use
But
your
speak,
burners.
yeah. But
Yeah.
speaking of viewership and ratings, what's next, Janie?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about how did this perform on TV this weekend. What all did it have to go up against? I guess some NHL playoff games, some NBA playoff games. An IndyCar race happened. Forgot about that one. Yeah.
Mannequin.
Do what?
Mannequin.
No, yeah, the mannequin.
Hey, come
I
on.
did see that. I was like, what in the world are they doing over there in IndyCar these days?
I didn't know what the context was, and I was scrolling through Twitter, and I didn't have the audio on. So, like, I just see the shape that looks like a person getting hit by an IndyCar, and I'm like, what the hell did I miss? Like, did somebody get killed? And then, it's a mannequin. So, like, I felt my heart just jump up into my throat, and I'm like, did I just watch a live leak video on Twitter? Okay, we're good.
Yeah, that puts the Danica NASCAR shoe situation to bed with that one because that running over a mannequin is a new one for me.
Yeah, but anyway,
So
about
one
this
to
week.
top.
TV ratings, the Cup Series, we had 2.401 million viewers tune in for this one. The last 2 years for this race were rained out, so we don't have a direct recent competitive look at this one. But according to what we did have from 2021, a race that wasn't rained out. It was basically even with the viewership from that one, but it's actually down 13% from the 2018 race. As far as the key demographic for this one, we had 450,000 in the key demographic, which equated for 19% of the total audience. However, the series that had the best performance this weekend in terms of their success rate is the Xfinity Series that had 883,000 viewers, which is up 31% year over year from last year. So that was very impressive to see that the Xfinity Series did so well. But it's one thing to look at this from the TV ratings point of view, and it's another thing to look into the audience we know and appreciate more, and that's you guys, the ones who vote in our infamous poll, the famous iceberg poll. We had 14,000 people vote on this one this week, and of this, 6% of people said this was a great race. 49% said this was a good race. This gave this race a net positivity of 55%. Now, 34% of these voters said this race was average. 7% said this was below average, and 4% said this was a bad race. Overall, this race had a net negativity of 11%.
And the first comment came from Spencer, so I'll ask you three. Do you think it's a positive one, negative, meme, or a mix of all of them?
It's a negative meme.
I bet he's just gonna summarize what happened at the end of the race.
What do you think, Brock?
I'm not sure the context actually.
That's a great question.
We hear the name.
I'll go with meme.
We hear the name of who left the very first comment, and then we take a wild guess as to whether it's a negative comment, a positive comment, or a meme comment.
Because as you understand, being on YouTube yourself, the comment section can be unhinged sometimes, and so we're never quite sure what to expect. Yeah, we were never quite sure what to expect at the top of our chat. But all right, go ahead, Jared.
Spencer says, if you were to tell me months ago that Noah Gragson would be the best SHR Cup driver right now, I would have called you crazy.
I'm still calling him crazy. I still think it's Briscoe, and I don't like that I sound like such a Gregson hater, but it's...
Well, we got some other ones here. Blaney Best, I wonder who he roots for with his number 12 profile pick, was the top comment.
Ryan Newman.
Hendrick.
Who drives Gus Dean? Who drives the 12 in ARCA? I don't know.
Anyway, he says, real ones remember Harvick saying yeet today.
Oh,
that was kind of amusing.
Oh, Kevin Harvick's a confirmed Jey Uso fan.
Maybe this is a hot take. I like the Harvick podcast, funny saying that he throws in there. Every week I cringe when Clint Boyer reacts to it. Like Boyer draws way too much attention to it. Like, oh, that
Thank you
must
for
have been
saying
your
that.
podcast word, huh? I'm like, no, that ruins it. That kills
Well,
it.
you got some weird dynamics coming into play. You got Clint drawing attention to cringy stuff from Kevin's podcast. You got Kevin drawing attention to weird emphasis on Clint's drinking slash party lifestyles.
Their dynamic is off. Not to bring this back to Fox, but their dynamic is just a little awkward to me.
It's
But I just hate when they like draw. It's like when you have to over explain the punchline that ruins the joke. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't like. To be fair, Harvick has blown it. He said hula baloo. Where the hell did that come from? So his hands aren't perfectly clean
it's
either. But
a better dynamic than say like a Jeff Gordon, Darrell Waltrip, or Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer dynamic, but it's still.
is it? I don't actually know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think their dynamic is hard to listen to sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's my hot take.
See,
Maybe
it's
that's not a hot take.
It kind of makes the other two people in the booth feel awkward for saying something or trying something different. Like, something if Clint during the hullabaloo thing, if like, after Harvick like mangles a pronunciation of that, if Clint just laughed it off a little bit and was like, you want to try that again? Like I would have laughed my tail off there.
Yeah,
Like you don't have to point out like it's something from the podcast. That's just
yeah,
that's clumsy.
yeah, that's exactly the way I feel about it. But it's not all the time. Sometimes they nail it. They do nail it sometimes.
Sometimes
Some things just
broken
come
clock and
across as
everything.
seeming forced slash wanted by producers at times.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I'm back here in the chat reading through a couple more comments, and bruh, I'm a pigeon says that was one of the races of all time.
That's pretty
Thank
accurate.
you, Mr. Pigeon.
I think a surprising number of races would fall under that category.
Yeah. NASCAR Dual Truck Series says I beat your favorite driver. There's just a lot of
That
people.
Denny's burner account?
There's a lot of people that are just stuff like I hate Denny Hamlin. That's like I've seen 4 just I hate Denny Hamlin in all caps, and it's.
I want to see what's
people.
in the. I want to see in the gutter. Is it going to be I hate, or is it going to be just say I love Denny Hamlin? Downvote, downvote, downvote.
Let's find out. Let's get down to the gutter, and I did not go vet through them, so I need to see if I can actually read them on YouTube.
Yeah, Brock. We always like to read the 2 or 3 most downvoted comments just to see what people said to get
Those
so
are
hated
fun.
to get so hated on.
Okay, I can read them.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll read 4 of them here. So Cody here at the 4th lowest says Larson crying about air blocking as if he doesn't do it more than any other driver. He's so insufferable.
I mean, they all do it at this point, whether they want to say it or not.
He didn't cry. He even admitted that he used it to win stage 2. Like, he's not saying that Hamlin did anything wrong. He's just pointing out that it was an obstacle. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think you cried. That got people love to use that word. Cry baby this, cry baby that. No one's crying. They might complain. No one's crying.
David here says the clown show continues. That's all. Well, he
Short and sweet.
put a clown emoji between clown and show, so a little more flair to it, I guess.
Wow, creative.
Well, that's fun. I like that.
Nathaniel here says Hamlin makes the clown mad again. Let's go.
Gosh, a lot of clowns. There you go. There was a pro Hamlin comment getting downvoted. I knew it. I knew it.
I just saw the name of the last one. Boobsball says, must be a very low bar if people are saying this race was good. That's the lowest voted comment.
People really downvoted that. That was fairly like cordial.
I've noticed that like we've been like the start of the year there was like a real kick to some of these gutter comments, but they've like really mellowed it out. I hope that like
Man.
I hope the not too awful ones. I hope my mods aren't going through and deleting like those because those are like really fun to look at.
Maybe that could be it.
I haven't seen them lately. It's making me sad.
We're over-regulating
I'll go
our
on
chat.
there and I'll just start talking bad, Jared, and then we'll let them downvote me, okay?
I'll just go through and completely confuse everyone and just start hearting every bad comment so it'll stay put. Anyway,
I'm just going to go on there and be like, stupid poll, stupid race, Danny be better, something like that. And I'll get downvoted.
that's the poll. We do have one
Nice.
more race, Danny, to look at real quick.
Yes, and this is one where I think Jarrett got the correct pick on this one. And looking back at that, it's like, dang it, how was we so dumb to not see Ryan Truex winning back to back for this one? This is a good track for
Well,
Truex family.
that's true. He did, I think, only lead the one lap though. It's not like he wasn't even really in the mix until those final few restarts. He led 2 laps.
He led 2 laps. He led the
Good.
at the white and the checker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was running
I
like
didn't
16th most of the day.
Yeah, he was not in the picture until the last few restarts.
I didn't get a chance to tune into this one live, so I'll let some of these others who did. Jarrett, you have on here, and I did end up hearing about this too. But tell me more about Carson Quaffle stealing the show and looking like he could nearly win in only his second start.
I mean, not just nearly win. I mean, he was leading the final restart, and I know this probably gets used way too much, but I mean, he looked like he'd been doing this longer than a race and a half at that point, or a race and 3/4, whatever what you add it to. I mean, he's had two fourth place finishes, I should say, in his 2 races in Xfinity. And I can't say that, I'm too upset that he lost. I was rooting for him at the end there. But the thing is, I think he's going to be somebody who's winning these kind of races for a while. I'm really excited, and this kind of opened up a bigger discussion. I'm really excited about this younger crop of drivers coming up between him, Connor Zilich, Raja Karuth. Like, you're seeing this really talented group of drivers, and the only worry I got is if there's a bottleneck in Cup rides once they're at that point.
Yeah, Zilich won the ARCA race. There's some contact involved, maybe a little controversy there towards the end, but he's clearly good. Yeah, Carson Kvapil, I know he's done a lot in late models. I haven't watched a whole lot of him race. I've just heard his name for a few years now. I just think it's awesome that Dale Jr. continues to get these late model guys at least one-offs. And, we've seen it already with Josh Berry. It turned into something bigger. It's cool to see Bubba Pollard run top 10 a few weeks ago. Back-to-back top 5s for Kvapil. Like, how old is he? 20, 21? Is he 20
I
yet?
think.
Okay. Like, he's got time still to develop and hopefully put together some sort of package, because it would be awesome to see him full-time in Xfinity, just to add to that list, like you're saying, Jared, of the Ziliches. And, I think guys like William Sawalich look good. A lot of people are talking about these dirt guys like Brent Cruz, who, again, I don't know much about him yet, but probably will learn a whole lot more over the next few years. It'd be fun to add Carson Kvapil's name to that list.
What is it about this particular car, the Xfinity Series car, that seems like it translates so well to guys with asphalt late model experience? We've seen Josh Berry get wins. We've seen Quaffle show success. We've seen Bubba Pollard in his very limited starts do very well in this car. What do you guys think it is about this? It just, I don't know. It just seems to translate very well to guys who have experience in that.
I don't know, maybe high speeds, tire saving, multiple grooves. I don't know. That's probably a better question for someone who's actually driven one of those cars.
It's a very
But
good question.
it is a good question. I would be curious to hear the very technical description.
Maybe
But
because it's an actual race car. Maybe that's what the Cup Series should be running.
was that your whole setup just for that line, Danny?
Basically, yes. I needed a reason.
Well, Bologna Burger.
I needed a reason to jump onto the bandwagon of running the Xfinity car as the Cup car.
Bologna Burger in the chat says solid rear axle with no underbody Aero. That's his theory to it. I know he works on those kind of
Yes,
race cars, so.
he does do a lot.
Well, I know the Cup car now has that independent rear suspension, which is deviates from the past and other NASCAR series. So there is a more of a stark contrast between them and Cup now in that respect.
It's pretty flat underneath these. This is the best representation I got.
That too. No, the Aero thing is for sure a factor as well.
I mean, it also probably does help that he talked about Carson Kvapil and Bubba Pollard. It probably does help that Dale Jr. is putting these guys in his ride. He's has them in different late model super lates and Cars Tour, you name it. So he probably also sees the best fits to put in as well. So that might be something else that's part of it. But it is an interesting question. I think I would like to hear it. I would love to hear actually a driver kind of talk about that comp between each other.
Yeah, it would be interesting. A
So
lot of
there's an
cautions.
idea for all the NASCAR drivers and podcasts out there.
A lot of cautions down the stretch in this race, though. Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed battled for a bit. I think, was it Herbst or no? Allgaier got spun. Uh, and then at the end, Hill spins himself
Who
out on the restart.
who was it initially that that kind of moved Hill and then he moved him back? Was it Allgaier or
The Allgaier was in the scrum. I rewatched some of the finish today. I know I saw the bit where Hill gave Creed a bump, and I remember
it,
like, yeah, that was kind of tense.
I just remember at least one of them had actually kind of nudged him out of the way on the restart, and I saw people like, "Oh, there he is again," and I'm like, it seemed like kind of an even back and forth. He didn't wreck the
Yeah,
guy,
yeah, I
but
don't remember.
but like Danny, I actually want to see you do this really quick because I did this after the race on my stream. I want you to put a poll out there for me. Just two options. Who do you hate more, Austin Hill or Denny Hamlin? Because I put that poll out and it was like 70% Austin Hill. And I found
Wow.
it wild.
Did you do that after the Cup or Xfinity race?
Xfinity. And I want to see
Okay,
with
so there's some
gap.
recency bias.
Yeah, I want to see
okay.
with a gap in time what the difference
Wow.
is. But I was surprised even with the recency bias because just smaller stage. Austin Hill has not been around as long as Denny. Denny's very outspoken.
Oh man, they're still
Wow.
leaning towards Hill.
And spam the name in the chat, by the way. I want to see like if for
That's
those
surprising.
and like everyone in the chat saying Austin Hill. That's just I'm okay with it. Like Austin Hill can be an ass sometimes, but I love that about him. And I love that he's the villain and he does not give a single rip about what anyone else out there, fans, drivers alike, think, as much as like I might disagree with how he does stuff. I love having villains. It makes it fun for me.
Villains are fun, but the sport needs to get some more heroes in there. I seem to remember
Yes.
the All-Star race in 2020, and they introduced all the big names, and every one of them were getting booed. It's
I've
like,
made that.
that's not good.
I've made that comment before. I took one of my best friends to his first NASCAR race in 2022, and we were standing out there for driver intros. And he turned to me after most of them went. He said like why is everybody getting booed? And then like another guy to get booed. Like why is that guy getting booed? And I'm like, you know what? You make up a great point.
The first race I took Riss to, because she'd watched on TV with me, and it was during 2020 when mostly fans weren't at the track, and so we went to Daytona, and they were introducing drivers' names, and she's a big Hamlin fan, and she doesn't know he's hated. She just would watch the race on Sunday with me.
She just
would pay
loves to
attention.
ship using FedEx, and figured she'd root for him.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's actually a really good question. I need to ask her, like, why the hell were you a Hamlin fan again? But she didn't pay attention through the week. She just would watch on Sundays with me. And so like we get to the track, they're naming off drivers, and it's Denny Hamlin, and she goes, woo, and everyone just starts flooding booze down. Because even then, they still had like 30,000 at Daytona. They could say it was 10,000. It was way more. Silent part out loud on that one, I guess. But it's an interesting comparison on that one, because I just thought it was like, oh, well, she's a Hamlin fan, of course. Like her driver gets booed, but like outside of Elliott and Larson, and I guess maybe Byron now, like, do any drivers get huge cheers anymore?
Elliott, he'll get a few boos
But it
just
says,
from.
oh, well, no, I'm saying just cheers, like actual cheers. Like there's Elliott, Larson, Byron, maybe one other. Like, who really gets cheered?
BJ McLeod, maybe
Blaney. Yeah,
Okay.
BJ's a good pick.
Blaney. Yeah, that's fair.
Because I'm just thinking, like, when I was a kid and I'd go to
Kyle Busch gets more cheers at some tracks. Bristol, he's still booed, but
Yeah.
some tracks he's actually cheered.
well, because I was
Yeah.
just when I was a kid and I'd there'd be driver intros. There'd be like Gordon would get booed, Johnson would. This is back before Junior went to Hendrick. I think that softened the blow a little bit. You'd see like Dale Jr. would get cheered. Like I remember at least in 07, Truex got cheered. Edwards, I don't know how. I think Edwards got cheered at Michigan in 07 because of what happened in the Busch race the year before with Junior, more than anything, because he was sort of the good guy, at least for those in the stands. And I even remember guys like Biffle and Kenseth got cheered. Kenseth, especially at the end of his career, got cheered a lot at races I went to, at least. But it's like there was a number of guys that I remember getting cheered. Now I'm like looking through. We had the playoff standings going down. I'm like looking through, and I'm like, okay, he gets booed, he gets booed, he gets booed. Like Ross, it's in the middle.
Ooh, yeah, kind of a lot of people like Ross.
I love Ross. I wish that Ross would just own it. Just everything he does, just own it. And I think
he's getting there. I think he's getting there.
Like I hope that if you guys are lucky enough this year to see a fight in person with Ross Chastain punching somebody in the face with a bowl cut haircut, I hope he owns it this time. Because if he had owned it after that race and then the week later with the Hendrick stuff, I think he'd been probably the most popular non-Hendrick guy in NASCAR. Like,
I will say this: my mom is very much more casual of a NASCAR fan these days, but Chastain and McDowell are one of those guys that, like, when they do good, I always know my mom, like, particularly was like hoping they would do good, because like she'll ask me like, what happened to Chastain if he was like looking good, something didn't go wrong, or when McDowell wrecked, she's like, I hate that for McDowell. It's like those are two people. It's like, if my mom can like him, I'm sure a lot of other fans are starting to like him too.
Join the cult of McDowell with me. Like, come join me. I love it. The more McDowell fans, the better.
Thinking back to how people feel about drivers, I ran a poll. Who is the best Hill? Hank Hill won this poll with a vote of 49%. Second was singer Faith Hill. Austin Hill comes in third, narrowly beating the Battle of Bunker Hill by 16% to 15%.
So, Danny, how about them super chats? Those coming up?
Yeah, let's get on to that.
I got you.
So it is time for the first super chat stage break of the night. We'll do this for 3 minutes. Jarrett, you'll do the timer on that.
I got you.
All right, and look up here at the top. Appreciate the first one coming in today from Bailey Reichert. Appreciate the $4.99. Can we take LMHIW Gregson? Went from 30th in points to 21st and is 76 out from Brad K. Any shot he still points his way in, or is it still must win? It is must win for Gregson. I would say that. I think these other guys would agree on that for Gregson.
Yeah.
NASCARson 2414. Appreciate the 4.99. Hey, NWP and Brock. Dover Xfinity was the best race I've seen all year of fire, rain, and great finish. Cup, Hamlin does it again with Byron error. Oh, yeah, because I think NASCARson is a 24 fan, so unfortunate for him. Another one from NASCARson, pushed to 4.99. NWP, just to confirm, Alan Bailey said Brad Keselowski would never win a race again in his 2024 team preview video from Los Angeles Coliseum. Okay, well, he's holding Alan to that one.
Well, we did a super chat about it last week.
Yeah. Blake Feeman, appreciate the 4.99. Love the last 500 days, Brock. Remember watching that one with my dad cheering for Sadler. We ate bologna burgers for the first time, too.
Oh, thank you very much. I enjoyed putting that together. Elliott Sadler, I remember clearly myself. It's like, this is just such a cool, down-to-earth guy to pull off that win, and it was fun being able to relive that in that video.
Yeah, that was definitely a good one. Appreciate all the work you put into that and all your other projects. Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate the $9.99. He said, wish my truck could air block the idiot that decides to get on your ass when you're already going 20 over the speed limit. I mean, you can block them, but it can't air block it. Yeah, you're gonna end up getting some damage yourself there. Isaac the Jedi, appreciate the $4.99. Hey guys, sorry I haven't been on live the past few weeks. Been busy with the fam. Glad to be watching live again. And Denny beat our favorite driver again. Yep, that he did. Appreciate you being able to tune in live. It's been a while. I haven't seen you here in a while. Antar Doss, appreciate the $4.99 from you. It's not Hamlin's year until he touches a trophy at Phoenix. I've been hurt too many times to be fooled. I'm sure you have, as well as a lot of other Hamlin fans. Hunter Nixon Fishing, appreciate another $9.99 for me, bud. Harvick and Blaney are going to be racing in wheelchairs at assisted living with permanent back spasms.
Hold on, carrying. He's done.
Oh,
All right, you
oh,
got time
okay.
for one more.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
with the
there we
four.
go.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and go ahead and end with this one from Shadow Fire Sin. Appreciate $10. Ford's problem is a lack of drivers with talent and experience. Toyota
Ooh,
and Chevy have 5 to 6 drivers that can win every week, and they are stacked compared to Ford, who has Blaney and Logano. That's something I've also considered. Is it necessarily the car or is it the talent? Yeah, I know we got Blaney and Logano, but who else is there?
you got Frank Keselowski's a fucking champion, and Kevin Harvick couldn't do anything for 2 years. I don't know. I wouldn't. Are their drivers as collectively as good as what Chevy and Ford, Toyota have? Maybe not quite, but they're good enough. Like especially Penske. There's no excuse for Penske being so bad or
That
being
is very, very true.
inconsistent.
All right. Well, I guess we will end off right there and we'll pick up more on that later in the show. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone for all of your super chats. This show is funded by viewers like you. Thank you. And guys, I've been thinking about going fishing this weekend, but unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to get to because the weather is looking like it's going to storm and stuff. And even though it's been nice here today, I suddenly got this, this alert on my phone. We're under some kind of lightning round or something like that. I mean, what's going on with this?
Oh, I feel bad. Our lightning has just struck Brock and Danny up top. Sorry about that.
Oh, RIP to me and Brock then. But I still got to come through and read off the lightning round. Want to give a quick shout out before we get started here.
I got the lightning round, buddy.
Oh, I thought I don't
No,
know.
that's me.
Bye-bye. I wanted to do it this time, but I guess not. It's been a while since I hosted, so.
That's mine, buddy. I'm like waiting for someone to put the Zuko reference. That's rough, buddy, in there. First off, I do want to, as Danny was alluding to, I want to thank the Spotify crowd for the poll that we put out. Simple question: will Alex Bowman win in 2024? 75% of you said yes, to 25% saying no. And for all of the co-panelists on here, if you want to think of a Spotify poll I should put down, let me know. And by the end of the lightning round, and we'll probably put it up. As for some stuff that happened this week, really quick, Kevin Harvick will drive the number 5 at North Wilkesboro for the All-Star Race practice and qualifying, while Kyle Larson is up racing Indy cars and practicing and qualifying there. Noah Gragson will be running 4 Xfinity races with Rhett Jones Racing at Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan, and Darlington in an alliance with Stewart Haas Racing. He's also going to be running ARCA races at Sonoma and Watkins Glen, according to the report. SVG will not have a car for the All-Star race, according to Racer. Looks like both Trackhouse and Colleague are not fielding that. Probably just not profitable for him. This one got struck down last night, but it's something I think we got to watch, especially if you're like me and you go to Kansas every year, especially in the September-October race. The Kansas City Chiefs have a plan for a new stadium to be built literally right on the other side of I-435 across from the Kansas Speedway. If you've been to Kansas, there's like an exit that you turn and immediately like you're right on the road to the racetrack. They want to build it on the exact opposite side of the road right there. It got struck down last night, basically because they don't want taxpayers having to shell out billions to build a stadium. But that could very well change, especially when you have a Super Bowl winning organization and competing organization like they do.
And they're just all carbon copies of the Allegiant Stadium now, apparently.
Yeah. Well, this one's, I think, fully indoor and all that, but that's not the important part. Just it's an important part for the NASCAR side of it, and God forbid that they schedule an NFL game and a NASCAR race at the same time there, because you're going to go from probably 40 or 45,000 leaving for a NASCAR race to a combined 135,000 leaving football and NASCAR for the same exits that can barely have, I really, if you've been to Kansas and you leave right after the race, it cannot support that crowd, let alone an NFL crowd.
Well, apparently that won't be the only Kansas City Chiefs game that'll be conflicting with a NASCAR race.
Yeah. This one, I think we can kind of go in.
Good segue.
You see what I did there?
That's pretty good.
That was clever.
That's pretty good. This is a big part of what's coming up, and I think we can take a little time on this one. The NFL, according to Roger Goodell when he was on the Pat McAfee show, is dead set on moving to 18 games. With the Super Bowl being President's Day weekend, they'd have 2 bye weeks, so more than likely the first game week of the season would be the same day as the Southern 500, all the way until the Daytona 500 in February. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I don't watch football. Who cares?" It's like, it's the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room with like you, the little normal-sized person. Like you're going to lose even if you're not at the same time as them.
I mean, I got news for all NASCAR fans. Most NASCAR fans also watch football. Whether they want to admit it or not, they watch some kind of football probably. They see it, they know it. I'm a Titans fan. Jared's a Vikings fan. Eric's a Texans fan. None of our teams are going to the Super Bowl, but we will for sure be watching the Super Bowl.
I'm a Bills fan. We might go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, don't count out the Texans just yet. We've made some moves, but
we're building
I will
for
say
the
Okay,
future
get to an
over here,
AFC
Danny.
championship first.
Just because your team tanked doesn't mean ours did.
the only televised event that can go up against the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday and be a yearly success is the Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet.
Oh,
That's some
Well,
steep competition.
I'll put it like this. 12 of the last 15 Super Bowls have been well over 100 million viewers. Last year averaged 125 million. And
Swifty Nation.
well, and people in America, just every year that they coincide, they care more about the Super Bowl than they care about their own politics in their country. Like usually debates will go over anything because they get like 80 million viewers. The Super Bowl dwarfs that. It's bigger than the president, no matter who it is. It is the biggest cultural event. It's one of the few cultural events that most of America can unite around and watch together.
To be fair, football seems way more civil than politics these days.
Yeah, I agree. It's just it's night and day difference than going up against like an NBA game or an MLB game. Like even, a normal NFL game at the start or the middle of the year. Like it's insane the difference.
I know one thing. If I'm in NASCAR's shoes here, this year we have a 2-week break because the Olympics are there. Basically, if we just push back 1 week, we're basically still should be looking at getting done the same time we're getting done this year, then, right?
Yes.
Theoretically, yes.
My question is like schedule wise, NASCAR tried it once with Pocono. I don't think a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon doubleheader would work ratings wise. But Monday night has always been big for sports television ratings and viewership. We know it's not going to be good for the track, unfortunately. Just attendance won't be good because people have work, school, you name it, depending on what time of the year it is. But I kind of had an idea. I want to know if you guys think it might be a dumb idea. And what if you'd probably have to do it a Saturday night and then Sunday? What if you started the playoffs with, normally it'd be Darlington, and then you quickly finish that first round the next week with Kansas Saturday night and Sunday? You have 1 week together. It's still 2 relatively good times for viewership, and you can also shorten the playoffs, which are way too damn long in length. I mean, it's 3 months of playoffs. Any little bit that can get past what a lot of people see as a needless round that eliminates those who we already knew were going to be eliminated early on, and you can actually start getting more into the nitty-gritty of it quicker. It could be an idea. I don't know if it'd be the greatest idea that people would want, but it's something there. I think that it's some way fitting one doubleheader in wouldn't be a bad idea as long as it's just one and it's unique in some way to the schedule.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'd love it being during the playoffs.
The round of 16 is useless to me. Like the people that get eliminated are never going to compete anyway. You might as well get it out of the way early on.
That's fair. I guess I would still vote for it to happen. Like I thought the way they did it with Pocono, not saying they should do it to Pocono again, but like that kind of worked in theory at least. Wasn't that the weekend everyone in the industry was tweeting about how great the campgrounds looked? It was like a industry-wide
Yeah,
memo that was sent out to
I
talk
think.
about how good the camping looked.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, and there's some maybe that worked, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, if you're gonna do it in the playoffs, round of 16, that's fair. But
I
I
just
don't
want
know.
to get
It's
that
tough.
round out of the way. It's almost
That's fine.
to me. I like if you're looking championship and all that, I loathe that round more than any other part of the year. It's
Noah in the chat.
useless.
No, listen to Noah in the chat. He just said you heard it here first. Jarrett just said Michael McDowell is useless. You
When
heard
it
it here
comes to the
first.
championship, yes.
That doesn't sound like McDowell's supremacy to me, Jarrett. What is happening?
Well, it's
Questioning
me.
your allegiance a little bit here.
Oh, I'll root for
Yeah.
No useless
McDowell.
supremacy.
I'll root for McDowell, but
He walked. He
I'm not
stepped
gonna
on
be
a
delusional.
he stepped on a McDowell rake, and it's all over. Yeah, I don't know. I we'll see when the if and when the Super Bowl Daytona conflict happens. We'll figure it out when we get there. Who knows? Might not even be this next TV deal. It could be years down the line. Probably not, but it could be. You never know.
Yeah. But anyway, that is at least what we go over with the lightning round tonight. Really quick though, I do want to remind you all for next week, May 8th, will be on my channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll be joined by Auto Racing Analytics, the analytics expert for Legacy Motor Club. So again, that's going to be a lot of fun. And especially with Toyota being so good at Kansas too. That might be even more fun depending on how this week goes. And then the next 2 weeks after that, Slap Shoes and David Land coming on May 15th and 22nd, respectively. So a lot of really fun shows coming up as well after, of course, the second half of this one. And I should say, I think I talked about it a little bit with with Danny and Eric. I think next week we'll talk about the other guests that should come on later in the year as well. We'll talk about that later. But
Jared always drops these hints like this, and I have no idea what he's talking about.
yeah.
You don't know about the guest?
No.
The guest.
Anyway,
Did we talk about this? I forgot. No,
That is the
such a
lightning
surprise
round.
to me as well. This is very exciting.
that is the lightning round. Now I'm going to strike y'all with lightning one more
All
time
right.
on here.
Let's get into
Oh,
let's get into the big headline. The second you said the gorilla in the room. This is the elephant in the room. The charters. Danny, do you want to introduce the headlines?
yes. Gorilla meet elephant. Here we go. No, in reality, we've got some charter gridlock going on here. NASCAR is once again saying they are close, but then you'd hear from other people, and it sounds like, are we really as close as we're saying we are? Teams seem to be separated on it. NASCAR and Jim France are meeting with teams individually, and yeah, you've just got so many more details coming on this. Denny Hamlin continues to be the most vocal of the owners out
I
there.
I would say it's all of 2311 is vocal. So this week we have
Yeah,
like three wild quotes. We have Curtis Polk basically saying that, hey, if a deal doesn't get done, then some teams we just won't show up to all the races. We won't show up to the All-Star race. We won't show up to the Clash races that don't pay well. There's no charter system. There's no mandate we have to be here for all 38 weeks. Denny Hamlin saying, oh, it's reached a boiling point. Why won't Jim France come out and say what he wants? And then there was a quote today, I think in the New York Times, where Michael Jordan said, verbatim, NASCAR will die if the charter system is not made permanent. That was his word. So now you even got MJ chiming in. All three, though, representing 2311, which leads to my theory is that 2311 is the largest disruptor in this whole deal. And I wonder, based on what I read in The Athletic, if there's a good number of teams out there that are kind of like, hey, 2311, like, chill out. We're kind of good with what NASCAR is offering here. Like, yeah, maybe we'd like a little bit more, but like, we're good. Like, how many teams are backing 2311? Because 2311, they're digging their heels in. They are drawing a line in the sand. And I just wonder, are they going to be left out on an island by themselves at some point? Maybe right now, I don't know. Hypothetically, maybe Hendrick, maybe Gibbs are like, yeah, we'll fight with you. We'll fight. We'll die on this hill. Oh, and then let's talk about July, August. No, you guys, we're willing to take this deal. I just wonder what's going to happen with the race team alliance. Do they need every single team to sign off on this, or can a team like 2311 hold up this whole agreement or go off and do their own thing? I don't know. I don't. It's like NASCAR has all the leverage right now because the teams themselves are not unified. NASCAR is one body. They know what they want. Obviously they have to negotiate with the tracks, but half the tracks are also NASCAR, so they know what they want. The teams, 2311 has a completely different agenda than JTG Doherty. Completely different agenda than Hendrick Motorsports. They are not unified, and that's giving NASCAR all the leverage. I don't know how this is going to play out, but the fact that 2311 keeps going to the media and venting, and you got Michael Jordan on the horn now making comments, just tells me that they are maybe already kind of on an island by themselves, a very large volcanic island that's erupting all over the place. That's my rant to start with. I just want to.
What a comparison! The Michael Jordan volcano is erupting. Everybody.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brock?
Well, it's I have been on record many times that I've never been a big fan of the charter system, and I will concede that part of that reason may be that I don't understand the business side of it, but I just look at it more the cultural side of it and the sport and how different the Cup Garage has become and how the plight of a lot of the small teams, a lot of the eggs that had to be cracked to make the omelet of all of these other teams that we've now had after the charter system. I think
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, I'll get a little hungry, but yeah, I mean, it's just one situation where, yeah, it's like is this worth it, or was this a decent business plan? I was tweeting about this last night, and saying, really, I think the teams that started the charter system initially, they probably deserve a fair amount of criticism for this because it seems like they put through this plan. And it's like, okay, we're going to have this system set up, and 36 of us, the ones that contributed to the sport the most, we're all going to get an even split of the purse and all that, and and everything will be great. It'll attract a bunch of sponsors. There'll be that and all that. So, but then in this time since then, we've seen teams shut down and have to merge, which already was happening before the charter system, and the issue of the money is still there. So now, like, the money that they're splitting isn't enough. And I agree that the Cup teams, aren't getting paid enough from what we're hearing from Denny Hamlin's quote in particular. If they're losing money,
yeah,
that is a big issue. But I don't think that's really that different from what happened before the charter system. So I'm afraid I'm really looking at it like, the whole system, maybe the reason that this system isn't becoming permanent necessarily is it is flawed. And I think maybe something there needs to be kind of looked at a little bit more critically. And I'm not going to pretend to know what all the answers are, but clearly if we're, not even a decade into this program and the teams aren't happy about how much money they're making, then something was overlooked when this was rammed through pretty good in 2016. And it's disappointing because at the time when this got pushed through, they probably could have, maybe put themselves in a better bargaining position back then. But unfortunately, it was either overlooked or it was turned down or whatever. And now the teams find themselves in this situation. I don't envy it for them. I hope it turns out for them.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I feel about it.
No, I think I wholeheartedly agree. I raised that question on my show today is like, what was the thought process in 2016, 2017 when this was going through? Because it feels like they should have seen this conflict coming down the line. Like, it's weird because the teams want the charter system to continue, but NASCAR's balking at it, while at the same time they'll go puff their chest out and say, look at how great the charter system is. The value's gone up. More, business owners are investing in different teams, like all this great stuff. Oh, but we're not going to guarantee your investment. We don't want to make it actually permanent. Like, we really like it, but like, let's tell you. So it's just weird that, I don't know. It's just, how did they not see this coming? That's right. I kind of agree with that take.
Exactly. And I think the biggest problem is that they were so focused on creating a safety net for if a team fails that they didn't think about how to make a team profitable for using it. It's now way more profitable to cash out of the system than it is to actually use the charter. And whose fault is that? I mean, that's the people that came up with the system. It's not NASCAR's fault.
Yeah. It's like now that they're having that second half of the conversation. That first half in 2016 was, how do we make it? Yeah. Like, how do we not lose money selling? Now the conversation is, well, shoot, now how can we make money with this? And that's where the teams are at. It's a big ask. And NASCAR, it's just, they were always going to run up into this wall. And it feels like they took until just now to think about it. And they're trying to get, years worth of negotiations done here in a few months. And it's just, again, the teams still aren't unified. Because I remember a comment, there was a report maybe from last year where someone reported that Jim France and them were trying to meet with, the old good old boys club, the Rick Hendricks and Richard Childresses and Roger Penske's, because they felt like, we can get a deal done with those guys. We go way back. We're buddies. They just want to maintain the status quo. And the RTA was like, no, you're going to negotiate with Steve Newmark, Curtis Polk, all these new younger owners with different business ideas. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like all this kind of came together last minute. Everyone's got slightly different interests, like even on the team side. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to all work out, but I think we've summarized it well, Brock. They figured out how to protect their investment in 2016, but now they have to figure out how to actually turn this into a profitable business model. And it's just,
Yep.
it's two halves. They're trying to complete it.
I mean, a couple things too. So since 2016, I saw this stat on Twitter today. There's been 11 teams that have closed, merged, or gone bankrupt. Many have been actually charter owning teams, and that's not even including like BJ McLeod and Live Fast going part-time this year. So it's did that
include like Ganassi selling?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I think it continues to prove like there definitely needs to be a change in the overall business model, especially if what Denny Hamlin's saying is right. It's hard for me, and maybe it's just because I have never seen anything close to this kind of money. It's hard for me to believe that they're all making high, like everyone else but the teams are making high 9-figure salaries. And I think he's maybe embellishing a little on that part, but I can totally see the teams losing millions a year.
Yeah, no, he made that comment that that NASCAR and the tracks are each making at least 100 million in profit every year, while the teams lose at least $1 million each. And that does seem, the team side seems accurate. That I'm like, no, that number sounds about right. The track and NASCAR argument, they're both everything's privately owned pretty much at this point, that it's hard to know for sure. You can look back at some historical public data and be like, well, maybe. But yeah, I mean, if it is truly as imbalanced as Hamlin suggests, then yeah, something drastic needs to change, and hopefully it does. But I agree. Hamlin, with all due respect, isn't the most reliable source. I feel like, he still insists he didn't touch Larson at Pocono 2 years ago or whatever it was. It's like, no.
But I'll also say, like, look, I mean, what NASCAR is doing, I mean, they've done this forever. Whether you want to call the teams a union or whatever, going to each one individually and basically divide and conquer. And it sounds like slowly but surely each team they talk to is like, I kind of like that deal, except 2311. What I think NASCAR is doing, whether people like this or not, is getting everyone sort of against them in some way, or at least not aligned with them. And so it'll basically either force you like, A, you get rid of your charters and don't show up, and then we can find somebody else to use them. Or B, you fall in line and you take the deal that pretty much everyone else that's talked about this has publicly said, yeah, that actually doesn't sound too bad. Because $7.7 billion is what we're talking about over the next 7 years. And from there, so like, $1.1 billion a year. 42% of that to the teams is, again, this is just being very rough with the estimates because this is all that we're given with it. I mean, they're going to make more money, even percentage wise, on top of making more money because the pot's bigger year is way bigger. Yeah. So I think the way that 2311 is a contract or two ahead. Like, they want it to be more like the NFL or especially the NBA. And it's NASCAR's, like, even if NASCAR wants to go that direction, to which I don't think they ever do, they're not going to go and change it that quick. That's such a monumental change. I mean, that I feel like that would hurt the sport way more, both short and long term, just because of how much different money would have to be moved into different places. And I'm looking at NASCAR side of it too, and the charter agreement, I think from the beginning, if the teams got what they wanted, would just on principle take away from NASCAR's power. Because like they've ruled with an iron fist. Say what you want about Brian France, he still did rule with an iron fist. Ask Denny Hamlin getting fined for saying mild comments about the Gen 6 or Jimmy Spencer disappearing off television. They have that. I think it's just at this point with other teams coming in, I think this there's going to be somebody who splits off if they don't have this kind of agreement. And there's going to be somebody who ends up being the big winner, whether with a manufacturer, whether with, how they run because of these guys being out, sponsorship moving around, because now all of a sudden maybe 2311 is unsure to be at, the West Coast races, at the Clash, at the All-Star race, you name it. I do think there's still going to be a shakeup, even if they do get this through and one or two of the teams don't want to be in it. Maybe it's Dale Jr.'s option to finally jump in. I don't know. But that's at least where I'm kind of looking at it with. Danny?
I think we've hit on it.
Yeah, I think pretty much all need to be said can be said, because that's about it.
It's hard to talk about the money specifically when we obviously don't know what the money is. Like Hamlin can say,
there's only so much that we can talk about.
And even the teams in NASCAR don't even agree on the numbers. Remember, they've had their issues with like, depending on the accounting you use, it's a 40 or it's a 7% or a 4% or whatever increase. And it's like, what on earth? Like, get that figured out first. Let's make sure we're speaking the same language before we start negotiating.
I think that's the whole point. Like, NASCAR's whole point in this would be like, in some way, even if it's not to get majority of the fans, get enough fans to have that back and forth where nobody's on the same page. I think the best thing for NASCAR is nobody but NASCAR's own people is on the same page. And it's the worst thing for the fans.
They're just trying to delay until enough pressure is put on the teams. Because, again, they have the leverage.
They have
At first, I wasn't sure.
They have 76 years of experience doing this, too.
Ask Tony Stewart how hard it is to start up your own stock car series in the modern day and have it be successful. It didn't.
Yeah.
It made 3 years. Say what you will. Maybe Hendrick Motorsports would be a little more successful. It'd be a challenge. So they couldn't race at Daytona.
By the way, chat's going nuts right now. We're only 58 likes away from the goal for 400 tonight. So that's actually cooking.
Huge.
But
maybe we can get it
at a disadvantage. We have 375 people watching. We were having around 350. Now we're up to 375. Y'all go find some friends or some burner accounts. Yeah, we might be able to hit the 400 like goal tonight.
Maybe we can get there after the our prediction and accountability segment.
We do have accountability time. Brock, if you're not familiar with this, each person will make 3 predictions. We'll go one at a time on this, and we get the guests involved in this as well. So 3 random predictions. It can be something that we think is going to happen this weekend, this season, in the next couple of years. It can be something, about the racing, or it can be oddly specific and be about something revolving in the racing world.
Or the show even.
Yeah, or the show even.
Jarrett, why don't you go first? You can show us all how it's done.
Yeah. Well, let's roll through.
Jarrett can talk about the standings for this too.
Yeah, let's roll through some accountability here. Let's start with me. It was not a good week for me. So I'll start off with the NASCAR side of it. For the show side, I'd said either all 4 Hendrick cars or all 4 Gibbs cars would lead at least 1 lap at Dover and Cup. That didn't happen. I had made guesses about who each of the 3 host teams would draft. I said the Minnesota Vikings would draft quarterback J.J. McCarthy in round 1.
Correct.
I got it right. I said the Houston Texans would not draft in round 1. They would not trade up.
Correct.
I said the Tennessee Titans would draft offensive tackle Joe Alt in round 1. He went, I think, 1 or 2 picks before the Titans. I was so close to hitting on this parlay.
JC Latham isn't bad, but man, we really wanted Joe Alt.
Hey, to be fair, I make a personal mock draft, and to be fair, I did get over 50% of my picks right on that, so I'm at least better than
pretty good.
Most people on ESPN. Eric, you were 1 for 2 this week. You said JGR would sweep Xfinity and Cup races at Dover.
Nailed it.
That happened.
How about that?
You also said Jimmy Johnson would run top 20 off legit speed. I don't think
I
he
thought
got
he
above
cracked
25th.
the top 20 at some point. He was 5th in practice.
Yeah, but I don't
technically.
I think in the spirit of this, I don't think that it was correct. As for Danny, Danny had a good week. He went 1 for 1, said there would be at least one Stewart-Haas Racing driver finishing in the top 10 at Dover. So Danny did get his layup.
Thank you, Noah.
As for the percentages, I am still leading at 42.11%. Eric is right behind me at 37.04%, and Danny is climbing up the ranks at 33.33% for his prediction. So all getting really close. We're all coming back to the mean, either up or down. But let's roll into it. So do you guys want me to lead into it, or?
Yeah, you can go first. You give your first prediction. We'll have Brock go fourth.
Okay.
Okay.
I love how I just said all that stuff about Jimmy Johnson, and my first prediction is going to be that Jimmy Johnson will finish at least in the top 25 this week.
Okay.
It's
okay.
a Toyota
Maybe he
track.
learned something at Texas.
It's a Toyota track.
True.
Attrition's bigger here.
You want to believe this is possible.
I like that Toyota play. My first prediction is that 4 Toyotas will finish inside the top 5 on Sunday. Got to go big.
My number one is the most specific one we're probably going to see all year. But here it is. NASCAR photographer Dalen Barr will tweet his infamous picture from Kansas that has become a meme known as ASP at least once between now and the end of this weekend.
You're going to make me just scour his Twitter account for the next
Yes, I am, but you might not
Yep.
have to because it'll probably be all over it whenever it goes out.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to take up my own version of that photo when I get there. It's like a monument. All right, that's a good
But
one.
specifically Dalen, because he's the one who made it famous.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brock, do you have your first prediction?
Okay. My first, kind of an easier one to track. I think one Legacy Motor Club car is going to finish in the top 10 of the Sunday's race.
Will it be Heim? Is it Heim time?
Might be Heim time, maybe. Yep, maybe John Hunter learned something from his father winning here 20 years ago.
Ooh, okay.
I mean,
yeah, that's probably a good pick.
The last few weeks have been kind of rough for John Hunter, but he started the year pretty good.
Yeah, I've always been high on John Hunter. I know, it's just like when he was in the Xfinity series last year. I felt like he was overlooked right up to the end, and I don't know why that is, but I mean, yeah, he has struggled a bit more this year, but hey, it's got to turn around sometime theoretically.
As for me, I see Danny already looking up what that was.
Yeah.
As for me, I was looking back at the time of race for next gen races at the Kansas Speedway. We've had 4 so far, and they've all hovered a little bit over 3 hours, 10 minutes, give or take, to sometimes 3.5 hours. I think we're going to see a bit of a longer race this time, especially if we get some rain that might hold it off. We add a few more caution laps on top of the stages. And if it's humid out, I think that the handling will be an issue, so attrition would be an issue as well. So I'm going to put my bet on here because this is above 2 and below 2, I believe. I think the Kansas Cup race this weekend will be over 3 hours and 15 minutes long.
Okay.
And
All right.
I'll be able to find out right after the race because I always have the NASCAR leaderboard up.
Gotcha.
So and you two at the
Okay.
media center will be able to know because they always have it in there too. So we'll know by the end of the
Sounds
Cup
good.
race.
My second prediction, this one will be a little harder to track, so I will try to help you out on this, Jarrett. But I think with all the talk this week, someone in the booth, Mike Joy, Boyer, Harvick, will mention taking someone's air away or air blocking at some point in the final 20 laps of the race on Sunday.
Ooh, okay, 20 laps.
Final 20
I was
laps.
about to say, if you said it during the whole
Like, we might as
race,
well
I'm
give
like,
it to you now.
I want to have some challenge.
No,
to
I think it'll be
this.
final 20 laps.
Okay.
One of those phrases will be used.
Okay, final 20 laps. I like that one. Brock, I was a little distracted trying to find out what the Indonesian rupee was. We'll get into that in a super
Yeah,
chat
I was
later.
noticing that too.
So I need to ask, what was your first one again?
My first one was one Legacy Motor Club car in the top 10.
Okay. All right. Then that's not going to impact me. My second prediction is Toyota will win one of the races this weekend. Don't care which one, but they will win one of the races this weekend.
Danny's going for another layup.
Yeah, that seems like a layup to me. I
gotta
mean,
have, like-
considering Ford hasn't won anything, it's
You got-
basically that's basically a
Dude,
guarantee.
you
Alright.
got to add
I
a
mean,
parlay into that or something.
All right. No. All right. Okay. Toyota will win one of the races this weekend, and it'll be a Joe Gibbs racing car.
Okay, that's good.
I'll accept that.
Because my actual pick may ruin that one.
Wait a second. Okay. Wait a sec. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Your turn, Brock.
Let's see. Yeah, I've been vacillating on what I was gonna pick here, but I'm gonna go ahead and go for one a little easier to track too. I think Dean Thompson wins his first truck race.
Oh, that's a big
Ooh.
one.
I like that. That is
I'm just thinking what would be crazy being there in person. And I know
That would be pretty
Dean's.
So I think we know who he's got for the truck win coming up later.
nuts.
There we go.
these are the kind of predictions I like. I like going off on a limb.
Chat likes that one.
Yeah, they
There you
do. My last pick. All right. This is one
We're
that
just doing two. Oh, okay, that's fine.
we're doing three. I'm doing my
we're doing
three
three?
right now.
Oh, okay, right on.
Okay, so I was watching Ryan Hall today. I'm not like my dad when it comes to watching the weather, but I do like to keep track of it. I'm subscribed. He was talking about hurricane season. And I'm not going to that direction that many people, I can see Eric probably rolling his eyes thinking I'm going to go that direction. I'm not going to.
Like the third year in a row, it makes a hurricane prediction.
I will say this. I think at some point Daytona will be the finale because of a hurricane. It's going to happen. But that is not this prediction. That is not on the record. But my prediction, and I will give an explanation for it, is this. I think a hurricane will be in or around the areas of either Daytona or Darlington the week before Daytona through the week after Darlington. It is the peak of hurricane season. I'm not saying it'll postpone it, just that it'll be an issue in some way. When I was watching Ryan Hall's video today, one of the big things he was saying is this is going to be a huge hurricane season. If you know anything about that, the Atlantic being warmer means basically worse hurricanes. And right now, the Atlantic Ocean is already warmer than it was last June, not May, June, which the last time it was like this was 2005.
I won't be shocked if this is correct because I feel like there's so much stuff. I feel like when we were in winter, it was short, but it was a lot more intense of a winter than recent years.
I mean, I got hit by a tornado, literally this apartment complex did. So
we've seen a much higher tornado season. It feels like this year. I'm seeing Ryan Hall and other weather YouTubers live almost every day. It feels like we've seen hotter springs. We're reaching above record times to get warm and above record temperatures for this time of year. I won't be shocked if you're spot on with this one, Jared.
Well, and the other part I wanted to put up on this is it's mirroring 2005 a lot. It was what Daytona and Darlington around that time of the year's weekends was around the time, was actually for Daytona, was the same weekend that Katrina rolled through, going through Florida into the Gulf.
And we've had a relatively tame hurricane season these last few years.
Yeah, and
which means we're due for a big one.
So, and it's tracking a lot like that. So I'm not saying it's going to get postponed, but I am saying that I think a hurricane affecting a race in Florida or South Carolina at the end of the summer is a lot higher this year than it normally would be compared to the last couple of years, which I will say, while there's been rain in Daytona, I think we've gotten really lucky as well. So, long-winded way of saying, I hope I'm wrong.
Do you think this is the third year in a row you've predicted a hurricane around Daytona weekend?
I didn't say it would be.
Third time's the charm.
I didn't say it would be that weekend, just to be around it now.
Okay, basically.
What's around 2 weeks before?
1 week before Daytona to 1 week after Darlington.
So my final prediction, in honor of Brock being here, and I hate to pick on this guy, but it's been a struggle of a year. I think Zane Smith finishes dead last on Sunday.
Oh dear.
I hope I didn't steal your last one, Brock.
No. I had something different. We're good.
Okay.
My last one will be, I think, harder to get right than my first two. Trackhouse Racing will have both of their 2 Cup Series cars finish in the top 10 this weekend.
Okay.
Okay,
There we
all
go.
right.
Oh, should I go? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you're
Sorry.
best for
My
last.
third one. So,
You're last for Lastcar.
oh, there you go. That works. That works. So I noticed this weekend, Austin Hill and Zane Smith both had their paint schemes changed, so there's more orange on both of them, or at least it looks orange to me again, you know. But I predict that because of this, the Fox booth is going to get them confused at least one time during the race.
You're probably not wrong. If they got Zane Smith confused for Alex Bowman last
That's what I'm
weekend,
thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
it's
thinking.
all
It's like,
over.
okay, there's gonna be another. It's gonna happen again.
They got to be watching this race on like, I don't know, a BlackBerry phone from back in the day. That's funny. I like it. All right. Well, there's the predictions. Brock, you won't be here next week to see if you were right or wrong, I guess, but we'll
I'll
I don't
definitely
know.
watch.
Yeah, we'll
Yep.
tag you on Twitter.
For sure.
We gotta
for sure.
we gotta find a way to hold you accountable.
Hey,
Absolutely.
wow, why are we losing likes all of a sudden? Is someone
bruh.
trolling?
I know. I'm sitting here like, okay, I was going to bring this up earlier. I was like, oh, hey, we're only 6 away. When did that happen? Then I'm like,
Rough.
7 away, 8 away, 9 away, 12 away, 10 away,
That's big. Well, maybe we can hit
11
the,
away now. Come on, what chat? What are you doing? Or is YouTube catching on to your burners and taking them away?
Should I check mine?
we are at the top of the hour. We could do our Kansas preview and then wrap up with
Yeah,
Mystery Driver.
You have a chance. You're close. Now it's 9 away. You're real close, chat.
Yeah, let's just roll into Kansas and then
Okay.
we'll do that after.
I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. No, we're actually in Kansas.
Danny, you're the host. You got to lead us in here.
Yeah. I'm putting it on the tee, man. I'm sitting right there.
I know. I'm just trying to make the stupid Wizard of Oz Dorothy, Kansas reference as much as I possibly can.
It was
Weekend
This is
note
the
for
best
this
week for it.
weekend. Riley Herbst will be racing the number 15 Rick Ware Racing Cup Series car. Come on. You could put Cole Custer in there. I just need Cole Custer to make one Cup Series start this year to get a prediction right. Come on, guys. Riley Herbst in the 15 for Rick Ware Racing this year for this weekend. Derik Kraus is in the 16 Kaulig Cup Series car this weekend. Austin Hill makes another Cup Series start in number 33 RCR Cup car. Corey Heim is back in the 43 for the injured Eric Jones this weekend. And Jimmy Johnson is back racing in the 84 car again this weekend. The Cup Series race name is the Advent Health 400. This is a 267-lap race broken up into 80 laps in stage 1, 85 laps in stage 2, and 102 laps for stage 3. This race will start Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with TV coverage on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. You can get radio coverage for this one on MRN and Sirius XM. As far as weather for this one, via the National Weather Service on Sunday, we have a high of 73 degrees with scattered thunderstorms throughout the day, but only a 35% chance of rain. So they're expecting it, but not a big chance. So it could be like spotty storms, it sounds like. So bear with them. They might be able to still get it in. The defending winner of this race is Denny Hamlin. And the Truck Series race is the Heart of America 200. This is a 134-lap race with stages broke up into 30 laps in stage 1, 30 laps in stage 2, and 74 laps in stage number 3. The start time for this race is 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch that one on FS1 and the Fox Sports app with radio coverage on MRN and Sirius XM. As far as weather for Saturday night, it is less likely for this race to happen. We have a temperature of 67 degrees. Thunderstorms expected, a 73% chance of rain as of right now. The defending winner of this race is Grant Enfinger. Be curious to see how he does this year. And as far as the pick points go, Jarrett is still in possession of my precious WWE NWP pick points championship. He has a lead of
what is that, Jerry?
I moved the belt, so I had to get.
You better not have lost my belt.
No,
just wrote it on a notebook.
I moved the belt, so I had to. I'm cleaning in here, and I forgot to bring it back in before the show started.
It's okay. Good way to think on the fly.
That's what WWE wrestlers should do whenever they forget it. Just write
No,
belt.
I'll just show people this. This is what I'm holding up right now. All right, back to the points.
Jared has the lead of 169 points.
Nice.
We have 1 Cup Series win, 4 Xfinity Series wins, and 2 Truck Series wins, giving him 7 total wins. Now, I got the last Cup Series race victory here of Denny Hamlin winning last week. I now have 2 Cup Series wins, 1 Xfinity Series win, and 1 Truck Series win of 4 total, putting me 9 points back behind Jared. Now, in third, we have the chat minus 14. They have 1 Cup Series victory. That's their only win of the season. And Eric, you are rounding up the rear. You are minus 27, 0 Cup wins, 2 Xfinity wins, 1 truck win, giving you 3 total. Now, you need to get in that Cup Series win column. And
That's what's cost me in the points.
I
gotta get those.
I got a good feeling you could potentially find your way to Cup Series victory lane if you make the right pick this weekend. As far as who do we think is going to win, we're going to go in this order. Brock, you'll go first as our special guest. And you have the opportunity to take points away from us. You're not going for points, but you can take it away from us. So if you
It's like an Xfinity regular.
Yep. So if you
Cup guy going down to Xfinity to pick
you're
on
bushwhacking
bushwhacker, huh?
Yeah, you're a bushwhacker.
you can bushwhack.
You've become the thing you swore to destroy.
I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's gonna be conflicting with my April Fool's video.
And you have the pleasure of not having to figure out any other options. That I have to come up with 4 options here. You just take whoever you want. So start us off. Who do you think is going to win the Truck Series race, Brock?
Okay, well, I'll stick with my my pick from the earlier accountability segment there, and go with Dean Thompson for the Truck Series win.
All right.
I appreciate the consistency on that one. Man, I am so split between these two. I know he's going to have a busy weekend. He's been a busy couple of weekends, but I think it's Heim time. Corey Heim wins the truck race.
There we go.
Right. Corey Heim off the board.
Yeah, that was the chat's pick.
Oh, sorry, chat.
But they seem very split. I'm going to give them their other one, the 19 of Christian Eckes.
I thought about Eckes.
So I was going to poll them, but since you took Heim, they can have Eckes.
Okay.
Which means I get my number 1 pick. This driver posted something on Twitter this week that made me think that he is very confident this weekend. He's won on a track very similar. I'm going with Raja Karuf to get it done this weekend at Kansas.
Yep.
He's coming for Bowman's ride. You see that, Danny?
It's got Ally on there. I mean, I'm just saying.
They got a little Ally logo on the quarter panel. It's over.
Go get my tinfoil hat.
Well, you said that was your number 1?
Mm-hmm.
So you all left me my number 1, Nick Sanchez.
That was my number 2.
I think he's going to be really strong this week. This thing about the Truck Series, though, I was going through, because I like to go through the last 4 or 5 of the track and then similar tracks this year, and that's how I kind of deduct who I'm going to do. And this one's really difficult because the Truck Series this year, 1.5 miles, and just at Kansas the last few trips here, has been really, really even. So I can't wait. I think it's going to be a really good race.
And this next category, we have the perfect person for this one because I'm going for 1 week only. I think it's fitting. We usually ask, who do we think is going to suck in the Cup race? In this case, who will win Lastcar this week is what we should call this one. So, Brock, who will suck win Lastcar this weekend?
I was chewing this one over more than any others when you sent over the line here, but I'm gonna go with what my instinct was originally. Jimmy Johnson. I think Jimmy Johnson gets last place in this one here. I think there's too many struggles here with this new car. He struggled at Dover, and he's owned the keys to that place. I'm afraid it might be another difficult afternoon for him here. So I think, Jimmy Johnson.
Rough, yeah. I guess I'll stick with Zane. I said him earlier, kind of half as a joke, but now I'll buy into it. Zane gets last.
I'm going to go with a shocking name on this one, but Ford is not same as they have been, and I'm going to say Chris Buescher is my shocking candidate for this one.
Seeing how we can do the same one, I'll do it too. We skipped the chat, but I think
Oh,
they're
my bad.
going.
Sorry, Chad.
I think they're going Zane. I'm seeing a lot of 71s.
Yeah. So 71 for them.
All right. So dark horses.
Wait, who'd you say, Jared?
I said I agree with you, Busher.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Smart
That's
minds
all
think
on that
alike.
island. All right, so for this one, who do we think is going to be the dark horse of this race? They don't necessarily have to drive a Ford dark horse for this one, but Brock, who do you think is the underdog for this one?
Okay, I kind of teased it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to stick with it because I've been thinking about it more. I'm saying John Hunter Nemechek. I think it's a dark horse. Again, I want to see if there's a little bit of family magic on the anniversary of the time that the Army car won here in 2004.
I was gonna look up the stat to see if I could back up my claim, but I'm gonna go with Corey Heim in the Cup race because if I recall, didn't Jones finish top 5 here last fall? Oh,
That was
sounds
such a
right.
crazy restart. I was
Yeah,
right
there's a
there,
lot
and
of
I will remember.
zaniness at the end. Yeah, he was third. Jones finished third here in the fall. So yeah, I'll go with the 43. I think a top 10 is in order potentially for Corey Heim.
There we go.
Danny, I
And
think the chat's
the
chosen.
chat is pretty clear who they're going with, and they're going with Noah Gregson on this one.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna agree with him. I'm gonna go with Noah Gregson as my underdog as well.
Well, apparently, like the first 3 picks of the draft, I'm going chalk on this one. Noah Gregson. At least we know we'll pick differently on the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Who's gonna win the Cup race?
Yep. This is where it all matters. So Brock starts off. Who's going to win the Cup race?
I'm feeling a Reddick win here. That's what I think. I think Tyler Reddick here. Even though Talladega wasn't that long ago, and I know 2311, everybody's thinking Bubba, and I think he's going to be very strong. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Reddick. I think he makes up for the near miss at Las Vegas.
That was my number one pick. Just think about this: the first 4 next gen races, 3 of those were won by the 45 car, no matter who the driver was.
There we go. Yeah, very good stat.
Jeez.
Well, the
See?
fourth race was won by none other than Denny Hamlin. He was my number 1 pick this weekend. I had Reddick at 2 only because I don't fully trust that pit crew, but I think they're both going to be really fast. But I'll go with Denny since Reddick is off the board.
Yep, and that basically messed up my
Well, the chat.
pick.
You're still forgetting the chat, Danny.
Yep, I am forgetting them. But I am
300
just
some
saying
of
that
them
messed up-
here.
I'm just saying that messed up my pick of a Toyota win and be a JGR car because I wanted Denny.
Chat is maybe Larson.
I think they're going Larson.
I think they're going Larson, which is not a bad pick. That was my 3rd pick.
Yep, my top 3 are already gone, which means I got to go with my number 4, and it is Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
Whether it was
Red
Denny,
shirt on.
2311, or Kyle Larson, that was all the baskets I wanted to go with for this one.
See, these are the 4 guys who have been the best here. So,
Yeah.
I knew going in, I'm screwed. And so I'm like, who's someone who's been consistent here, who's been good at these tracks this year, that I think will be really good as my 5 pick, who I could actually see stacking up against them, who's led laps here in the last few next-gen races, who even when he's bad does well here. And this guy stuck out to me, Chase Elliott. I think Chase Elliott will get the win.
Texas
You
win.
would go
Okay.
Byron on that one. So that's a shocker.
I'll go Elliott. Elliott has been good at Kansas for the good part of his career.
Hey, he did win the last mile and a half.
I like
Yeah,
it.
And he's ran well under both Gen 6 and Next Gen here. So I think he'll be good. I know a lot of people are probably shocked in the chat by that. But I don't think they should be.
Okay. Well, there we go. That's going to do it for who's going
Yeah.
to win. So we've unlocked the 400 likes.
Yeah, I don't know how we did it because we have not went past 400 viewers.
We barely
But
did.
it doesn't matter because you hit the like goal.
We barely did. I saw it pop over for a few
Well,
minutes.
the dirty little secret is that some people come and go. Some people can't hang out with us for 2.5 hours. I don't know how that's possible. I think
They
all of
can't
our
hang.
company they can't hang. I think we're all amazing company. I would spend 20 hours in a row in a Zoom call with the
Oh,
3
you
of
would
you
not.
guys.
There
But
we
You
go.
leave after 4.
yeah, the 2.5 hours is kind of my limit.
Hang.
But yeah, appreciate you guys getting us to 400 likes. So Jarrett, you want to break down the rules real quick?
Yeah, so it is time for the random driver of the week. Each of our panelists, outside of me, I get the clues put together. I'll give you guys clues. You have up to 3 guesses you can give for who the random driver is. If you get all 3 clues used up and it's a wrong guess, you're eliminated. I think we've only had people eliminated like once or twice. And
so the main strategy here is Brock is we usually wait for him to give at least a couple of clues before we guess. We don't usually, because he's got like 20 something clues, so we're not really in a rush.
You just speak up when you say you want what your pick is, or do you like buzz in or something?
Just say I think I got it or something like that. Just something.
Most of the time it's going to be us like this the whole time.
Okay.
Believe me, Danny and I will not be rushing to the button. So
we're going to be like short circuiting in here.
Like,
the chat's already
like one time when Jarrett like cleverly made me think it wasn't John King when it definitely was John King, and I was going crazy inside.
Well, that does remind me. Everyone has to hide the chat because the chat will probably get it pretty quickly. Yes. We just go off honor policy.
Got the phone over here.
Yeah, we go off honor policy.
Get out of here, chat.
I minimize my tab so I don't see it.
And it can be any driver that has been in trucks, Xfinity, or Cup. We're just limiting it to that for now, just because.
Just drivers.
He's not going to be like this modified driver.
I mean, I could if they've raced at least one race in one of those series. But our last couple that we've had, Danny mentioned John King. We've also did Tony Raines, Curtis Turner, Jimmy Spencer, and last week Kenny Irwin Jr. So when you guys are ready, I'll start listing off some clues.
Go for it.
Sounds good.
All right. This random driver began racing at the age of 7.
Roaring start. All right.
I'm going to make sure I cross these off as I do them. Before racing in NASCAR, this random driver, according to their website, had 79 feature race wins and 15 championships at various levels.
Oh, okay. All right. Prodigy.
Okay.
They had a website.
That's huge. .com.
That narrows it down.
Yeah.
This random driver has also briefly worked on air for Fox Sports.
Ooh. That could narrow it down a little bit.
I either feel like this is going to be a really short one or it's going to be really long, and
no one was waiting.
Surprisingly, the chat hasn't got it in the first 3 like they usually do.
They fell off.
The fall of the chat.
Washed.
Okay. Yeah,
what's next?
That's a good one.
By the age of 12, this random driver was racing at the Berlin Raceway.
Oh.
I think I got it.
I was just there. Who the hell raced there?
I think I got it.
Oh, this might be a record if he's got it this quick.
We knew this would happen.
Yeah.
Oh, do I just go ahead and guess?
If you want.
Yep. Johnny Benson.
No.
Oh,
that's a good guess.
But it is a good guess.
That's a fantastic guess.
I couldn't think if he did anything with Fox, but
I don't know.
Berlin, and that triggered something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. He's down 1. Go for it, Derik.
Wow, I'm surprised.
That's going to be me and Eric's only hope is that he strikes out.
Well, it's raced at Berlin. I was literally just there. They had a whole wall of fame outside of turn 4. I was looking at it, and I can't remember any of the names on that list besides Carson Hocevar and Johnny Benson.
This random driver has only raced Chevrolets since the start of their carear.
It is Carson Hocevar, isn't it?
Oh, what if it is?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it really?
He has done brief with Fox interviewing drivers.
What is
there we go.
Damn, that is the quickest one we've ever done.
Well, Eric gave it away, and I was like, wait, he did do Fox stuff.
The chat didn't even get it before he...
What?
Yeah!
Good of one here.
Big win tonight on my channel.
What on earth? I gotta stop. I gave Paige the win a few weeks ago. I keep giving people wins.
You gave it away.
If you hadn't given it
You're
away...
like, I only think of Johnny Benson, Carson Hocevar. Wait a minute.
But yeah.
I should have just guessed it. In my head, I don't know why. In my head, I'm like, this guy must have raced in the 90s. I don't know. I just had that in my head. I figured it was someone old.
I was starting to think like Hermes Sadler earlier. Then I was like, did
Yeah.
he do Fox?
Well,
And then I was
you
like,
gotta you
with
gotta think.
Berlin.
Okay, it had to be someone young because they're talking about their wins on their feature wins on their website.
Oh, you
That's
did
gotta
say
be a young driver.
a website. Only
Yeah.
20-year-olds have websites.
I was thinking maybe it happened way long ago or something, maybe a
Yeah.
different time. That
Wow.
didn't cue me in as much. It's
Man, I'm
interesting. That
so
was a good
glad.
one.
I'm so glad I got that.
I'll ask this: if Eric doesn't say
I,
it,
I, I could
Danny,
see I could see Jarrett make a little face when Eric said that too.
Oh
damn, my
no.
poker face is off. Then that's on me. But if
What?
he had not said that, would you have guessed it? Be honest, because you got it. I'm not going to take the point away.
If I didn't hear that come out of Eric's mouth, I probably wouldn't have got that.
To be fair,
Damn it, Eric.
To be fair, Brock saying Johnny Benson, I'm like, oh yeah, because in my head, I was at the SRX race last year, and Carson was there, and I talked to him because I knew this was like he's from Michigan, it's a big deal to him. And then I literally was brain farting, like, who was his mentor? Who was the guy that gave him all his
Yeah,
breaks? I'm like,
that's
oh yeah,
right.
Johnny Benson, that's
Well,
right.
I mean,
So that's
I
what
was
jogged my memory.
thinking when he said that, I was like, okay, it could be Carson. But when you said he's only drove Chevy, I was like, yeah, it's definitely Carson.
That
Dang.
makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Damn.
Because he ran the Benson throwback that time too, so there was that connection. I remember at Darlington once. But yeah, that was tricky. That was tricky.
Hey, you said it's either gonna be really short or really long.
Yeah, I really did. I'm not saying that they're like, tell me other clues. There's 20 more. I'm not reading through all 20.
One yeah.
Okay, name us like the most obvious one. What's the most obvious one you have?
This random driver follows Eric and I on Twitter.
Wait, he doesn't follow you,
Yeah, there's
Danny?
probably a lot of drivers that follow you
He
guys.
does not follow me, but I have
He should now.
He's DM back.
He should now. Side note though, Carson's little cameo troll that he did on social.
Oh, that was a great video.
That was genius.
That was
I love
fun.
that.
I'm
made me-
real curious. I would love to chat with him some. I'm curious if he does a lot of these like Twitter campaigns himself, or he's got like a PR person that's coming up with this stuff, because it's really good no matter what.
Hey, he's made his own NASCAR stop motion videos. He knows how to work a camera and editing software at the very least. So I wouldn't put it past him to be doing it himself.
I will say I don't think it would have made it past Clue 9, where I said that he was mentored by Brian Clausen and Johnny Benson.
That would have given it away.
That would have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew it was probably going to be shorter. It's difficult. Like, I was looking stuff up about him, and I'm like, Jesus, everyone knows every single thing I'm finding. Like, I don't want.
Wow.
Usually, like, I can say this. Usually, if it's a driver who's retired even in the last 20 or so years, like, I can get something really interesting from a LinkedIn account or something.
Oh, there we go.
There was nothing. It was all out there. He's really
Carson's just too public.
We
Yeah.
it's one of our first Gen Zs to make it to the Cup Series. It's a different time, a different culture. He's grown up in the digital age.
He was born in
Yeah.
03. He's younger than my brother.
God,
Oh my goodness.
03.
That is-
Jeez.
Like literally, when I see
Crazy.
Carson, I think he looks just like my brother-in-law, who's like only like a year younger than him, but they're both tall guys, got their hair kind of parted a little bit. They both look a lot alike for some reason.
God, well, that was
There you go.
probably the upset of the year, Danny. Good job.
Yeah,
It was a
That
good
was good.
team.
Well
it was
done.
It was a good team effort here by all four of us.
Yes.
Jarrett gave it with his face. Brock with the Johnny Benson. I blurted out Hocevar. There we go. Good job, team.
Hey, that's the first time.
Teamwork wins.
That's the first time all year that my poker face has slipped.
It's also the
Yeah,
first time all
'cause-
year that we beat the chat to the punch. So actually, Danny, you deserve credit for that. We beat the chat
yes,
to the
that is
answer.
true.
That's
That is
incredible.
true. All right, well, Carson Hocevar, your random NASCAR driver of the week.
So super chats.
Let's
that's
wrap
all
it
we
up
got.
with some
Yeah.
super chats.
We'll let it off some super chats, and we'll get the heck on out of here. Appreciate y'all. Let's see, we left off of Shadow Fire Sense. We'll pick up back up with Mr. Penguin. Appreciate it, $2. If I'm Ford, I'm gonna try and steal Brent Cruz.
I keep hearing a lot about this guy. Has anyone here watched him race before, like much?
Can't say I have now.
I mean, I keep hearing his name pop up. I guess someone to watch, but I haven't seen a whole lot of him, so maybe.
Let's see, my thing messed up. Hold up. Shadow Fire Sin, appreciate another $10 from you. For those wanting JRM and Cup, I'm starting to ask why, when you have Bowman who replaced him, Elliott, Byron, Gregson, Barry, and Reddick who drove for him, and the RCR numbers, JRM makes Xfinity unique. I like that. I like
They
that
have
take.
a
It's a
they have a
fair
really
point.
good they have a good place in Xfinity. Like a really
They do.
they're filling out an important role there.
I think it's just there are nostalgic people who want the Earnhardt name to always be around the Cup Series. I think that's what it mainly comes down
Mhm.
to. Bailey Riker, appreciate the $1.99. Chad Johnston is the issue with the 41 team, he said.
He was Larson's crew chief for a while, and then they fired him mid 2020 because Kenseth was so bad. So,
Oh,
but to be fair, that
yeah,
might have been on Kenseth.
yeah.
So I don't know how good he really is. That's hard to
Hmm.
say.
Shadowfire Sin, appreciate the $5. Danny, can you put a Penske shirt on so they're jinxed like Bowman is? I don't want you jinxing my boys' team. Well, I don't know if that means you're a Denny fan or one of Penske's drivers, but I don't have a Penske shirt, so sorry.
Dang.
Gary Buki, appreciate the $10. I'm growing to love Denny winning more with each passing week because seeing the absolute vitriol and the instant I voted bad because I hate Hamlin people is always good for a laugh.
Yeah,
And I get it. We like chaos sometimes, and he definitely can bring it.
vitriol.
Spencer Purcell, appreciate you being a member of Danny B Superfans for 34 months, chiming in and saying it's hard to believe it's already May. The month of May has indeed arrived. Time
Absolutely.
flies. Fred Dog, 81, appreciate very generous, $20 from you. Hamlin is very outspoken, which I find interesting since his co-owner gets crap at times for not speaking up on topics in and out of the sport. Do you think Michael Jordan is okay with this, or does he pull Denny aside and tells him to cool it? I don't think he would tell him to cool it. He's known Denny Hamlin for a long, long time. At this point, he's got to know the kind of person, the kind of race car driver, the kind of person that Denny is. I think Denny is the one who makes more sense to be the vocal one because he's on the ground racing. He is a driver too. I
I
think he
feel
makes more sense.
I feel like Joe Gibbs is the most likely person to be like annoyed with Hamlin talking so much.
Probably
He's like,
yes.
focus on driving my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Mittens the racing cat. Appreciate the $1.99. Mittens has entered the chat. Hello, Mittens.
Hi,
Tom's
Mittens.
Banana Cakes. Appreciate the $2. The NFL is a monopoly who just wants to F with us.
Dang,
Hmm.
Yeah, not wrong.
ruthless.
Hey, side note, I watched arena football this weekend. It's a lot of fun. Go
Arena
National
foot,
Cats.
that's gonna be on the rise. It's coming for Goodell.
Mittens the Racing Cat. Appreciate the $1.99 again. Everyone liked the stream. They did. You all got to 400 likes, so thank you.
Thanks, Mittens.
Yeah,
Isaac the
everybody had a
Jedi.
good time.
Isaac the Jedi. Appreciate the 4.99. Jarrett McDowell is useless to the championship battle. Me. Insert first order stormtrooper yelling traitor with a riot baton pulled out there. Immortal, appreciate the 4.99. I'm surprised that Trackhouse doesn't say anything about the charter since they spend more money than 2311 so far.
They
Yeah.
might be
If
true.
a
Didn't
team is
Spy
likely to be vocal, I would expect it to be 2311 or Trackhouse.
Spire just spent 40 million? How much did we what how much did the Trackhouse pay? Was it 20
It
million
was a good
each?
amount of money to get Ganassi.
Yeah, I don't remember what the number was, but I would argue it might even be Spires paid the most at this point, but I don't know.
Yeah, but Spire keeps buying them and flipping them, so I don't know.
Mm.
Chrome Diesel, appreciate the $5 from you. If charters go down, could they just increase incentives for where they finish based on the final point standings requiring to compete all 36 races? That'd just be going back to what we used to be, right?
Probably,
Pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm sure they could figure out a way to weight the money correctly and make it make sense, but I don't know.
Yeah. Austin Blansett, appreciate the 4.99. We've lost Chicago, Kentucky, and Auto Club in the last 5 years. Not to sound morbid, but what track do you think is potentially next? I think Richmond. I don't think Richmond goes anywhere.
Not completely. They could lose a date, but I don't think Richmond goes away entirely.
Can't lose the action track.
Yeah, I don't know. I immediately think about like independent tracks. Like I might have said like Dover, but they got bought by SMI and maybe they still could go away, but the crowd on Sunday tells me that maybe not. Let's say
Yeah.
Nashville Super Speedway.
Yeah, I could say
Maybe.
Nashville simply because that would be on the incentive that Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway becomes an active NASCAR track again. That's the only
Mhm.
way I see that happening. But
Probably.
it very well could be
Yeah.
the only one we see in the future. Nas Carson, 2414, appreciate it, 999. Brock, have fun at the Kansas race.
Thank you.
NWP, any of you, including chat, going to Kansas race? We know Eric is.
I'll be
What,
there.
what Kansas races have you been to? I went in 2023 and wasn't expecting to see a fantastic Larson Hamlin finish.
I've
Yeah.
went to the fall race every year since 2019 for better or worse.
This will be a first time for me. I'm certainly looking forward to not just the Cup Series, but also the truck and ARCA, weather permitting, of course. But that's what
Yeah.
we're ready for.
Same.
I've,
No, I'm looking forward to it.
I've never gone to Kansas, but I need to go. Really need to go.
It's good.
Groovy Goose, appreciate the 499. Main takeaway from Jarrett's 500 video: NFL commissioner has powers that rivals the president, at least in the United States.
He's a mob boss. That's what I've been saying. The NFL is a
Yeah.
mob.
I mean,
They do say the president carries the football there with the codes, so maybe that's deliberate.
I'm curious who would get more boos coming out to announce the first overall pick in the draft, Goodell or the president?
Why not have both of them there? We'll boo everyone.
Depends on the
There you
market.
go. Equal opportunity.
Austin Blanchett, appreciate it, $1.99. Sorry about McCarthy, Jarrett. Overrated game manager.
Oof.
I mean, we saw a game manager make the Super Bowl this year, so I'm more for the rookie contract than anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
Plus, I think he's better than that.
Nas Carson 2414, appreciate the 499. God bless NWP and Brock. It's my birthday today. Thanks for the gifts you provide for me and all fans of awesome content on your YouTube channel. Well, Carson, happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Happy
tuning
birthday.
in with us for your birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy birthday. I saw the chat was wishing them some birthday wishes as well a little bit earlier. So that's awesome.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. thank you
Here's
for
the one I
spoiling
had
your time
to
here.
Here's the one I had to Google a little bit here. Illustrious Freedom, appreciate the 50,000 Indonesian rupees, which is the equivalent of
That's
three
cool.
American dollars. Appreciate that. Greetings from Indonesia, guys. Didn't watch the Dover race, unfortunately, but am hyped for a Darlington throwback for the paint schemes alone. Yes, and we've slowly been starting to see more and more of those trickle out over these last few weeks. I know Eric, you usually do something like this. I usually do something where me and Claudia will kind of grade the throwback paint scheme. So waiting for a few more to come out before I do that. But definitely looking forward to seeing them all once they're all out.
Yeah. Hendrick's doing a pretty good job so far. They're going to be tough to top.
I think they pretty much won this.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
I love you, DeWalt, but what the hell? Come on.
Yeah.
You couldn't have run your 100th anniversary scheme anywhere else.
Like they could literally run at like Daytona. Run it.
Yeah. It's a good looking car. But
Run
why?
into 600.
I can't complain.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I think was it last year there were, or maybe last year I think there were two Kenza throwbacks like in the same race, right? Or I know Beld they ran a Kenza throwback. Was Bushers the year before? Bushers might have been the year
I think
before.
his was 22.
Yeah,
Might have been, yeah.
I've had two.
Yeah,
good
definitely
Kenza
wasn't last year
throwbacks.
because we probably couldn't have we probably couldn't have dragged you away from the 17 despite having your own car out there.
Yeah, I do remember that getting to see that fun Riser 17 font again. That was nice. So I can't complain. We've had some good Kenza throwbacks the last couple of years.
Yeah. Let's see here. Roberto Whitesell, appreciate the $5 from you. If Dale Jr. comes to Cup, wouldn't Rick Hendrick have to sell his portion of Junior Motorsports?
Probably, or I
Yeah,
don't
probably.
know. Yeah.
But I think at this point they could survive even if he got out of it. Shadowfire Sin, appreciate the $5. Easiest solution if you don't want NASCAR to take your charter, don't suck and be a Rick Ware Racing or Spire car in points. We need a Honda to carry Rick Ware Racing, etc., with tier one support.
Well, you're always going to have
Rick Ware
slow
Racing.
cars, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never going to go away. If it's not Spire or Rick Ware, you know, it's going to be somebody else. And even Spire and Rick Ware have been moving ahead of where they were just a few years ago too. It's just we don't see as many cars out there to base that performance off anymore.
That's very true. Bobby Blair, appreciate the $4.99. Happy month of May to you all. The one time a year where we can ignore the struggles of the IndyCar series and just go racing. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. There will be still some struggles, and we've seen them even this month still. But no, we're all looking forward to Indy 500 as per usual, though. Groovy Goose, appreciate the 989. Growing up, I had a VHS tape of a 2001 Harris 500 so I could watch it after school in the middle of the week. Can't wait to see how Brock Beard covers it in his next edition of 500 Days.
Uh, oh, thank you. That is still in the works right now, and that'll be the next episode here. It's the next script I need to work on.
Yeah. Gary Buki, appreciate the $20 from you. Speaking of Carson, fun facts. In his rookie season, Hocevar has finished ahead of LaJoy in 7 out of the 11 races this year so far. And at number 42 last year, doing a couple of sub races, he finished ahead in 6 of the 9 races he ran. That's very interesting.
That is.
Hocevar's got a lot of potential. I
I
think.
enjoyed him in the 42 last year. That run at Bristol really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that he can win Inspire equipment. Maybe it'll come, but I feel like if the right opportunity presents itself, he's got a lot of potential for
He
sure.
does.
Alessandro Sebastian, appreciate $10 from you. Question for Brock Beard: of all the videos on your YouTube channel, which one is your personal favorite and why? And also, first race you ever watched that made you become a NASCAR fan?
Boy, those are both very good questions. Um, Probably the favorite video I've produced would have to be the first 4 parts, which since been condensed into one video of 500 days. I think just telling that story of the 2001 season, and I was probably the most engrossed I became in a project to talk about that time period and really trying to bring what it felt like back then to life. So I'd probably pick that one. And what was the other question? The question was the first race I'd been to.
No, the first race you ever watched that made you become a NASCAR fan.
1991 Die Hard 500 at Talladega. The first thing that stood out in my mind was Rick Mast flipping upside down in the tri-oval. And I actually tweeted that a while back, and Rick actually responded to me, and so he was saying, I try to remember what exactly he said. He's like, well, at least it stood out. It's like
Memorable.
so.
At least
Yeah,
you got noticed. Yeah.
there you go. That's the first diecast I picked up too. I was at a car show not long after that with my family, and they had the diecast of his car that stood out. I remembered it from that wreck, and I didn't know back then that you still had older diecasts, so it was actually Terry Labonte from 1990. But it was like it didn't matter. I was like, okay, yeah, it's a paint scheme, and that was
Yeah.
kind of my introduction to silly season, I guess, at this time.
And one last super chat coming in here from our buddy Blue Jimmy 48 fan. Appreciate the $5. Great podcast as always. Had a great time in Dover. Took one of my friends to his first race and enjoyed it. Now I turn 24 tomorrow, then 25. Probably something funnier than 24.
I was gonna say, what's the joke there? Oh, I
Happy
get it.
birthday.
Yeah,
Happy
happy
Happy birthday to you,
Absolutely.
Blue Jimmy. And that'll do it for this
Wow.
week. Appreciate everyone who stopped by. Had a very active chat here tonight. As always, really amazed that we've managed to still hit that 400 like goal. Ended up finishing 422. Appreciate everyone. You can join us next week. We'll be live on the Icebergs YouTube channel. That'll be Wednesday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be live going over everything that happened at Kansas. And we'll be getting you all set up and squared away for the Darlington race, the throwback weekend. And
Can't wait.
we'll be joined by a very special guest, Auto Racing Analytics. Be happy to have him on with us finally and talk a little bit about what he's doing in and around the sport of NASCAR right now and get to know a little bit more about him and his account. If you're not following him over on X, make sure you follow Auto Racing Analytics over on X. But I think that's going to do it. And we will see you all next time.
Absolutely.
And muting.
All right. Bye, apparently. I'll close out the show. Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Drivers, start your engines!
Ready, good.